What's going on, family? What's going on? Welcome to Sage Talk on the Lapeef Network. Glad you guys are tuning in. I see you guys are pouring in right now. We definitely appreciate it. Get ready for a show. I'm going to let you guys know right now. I have no clue what this show is about. I'm just following orders. Lee hit me up and said, hey, this is what I need. I said, I got you, bro. I got you. I can't confirm if Angry Man or City On is making an appearance tonight. Hopefully they do, but I'm unsure of it. But nevertheless, what I do know is that it's going to be a great show. It's going to be a great show. So shout out to Lee for this interesting thumbnail. And thank you guys for tuning in. But before we get the show started, I want to bring this to everybody's attention right now currently. As some of you may heard and some people may not know, my brother Anton Daniels, he has two channels. And his main channel was taken down last night because of a troll. There's a link that's in this description right now. I want you guys to take a moment. We'll take about three minutes or so to head over to the description right now and click that link. That is a Twitter link that sends a message to YouTube. I want you guys to tag your support for Anton in that link. That link is in the description right now. If we have any issues with the link, let me know and I'll make sure that I get it updated. But if somebody can go ahead, go to the description and let me know if that link is good and if it takes you to the right place, because we definitely want to make sure that we're going full force to send out our support. So let me know, somebody in the chat, click it. Let me know if everything is good with the link and then we'll proceed. Again, there's a link that's in the description. I'm gonna go ahead and try to post that again right now in the chat, just in case, to make it a little bit easier for you guys. Let me know if this link is good. Okay, that's a real link. Everything's working. All right, I just posted in the chat right there. So that's how you guys are able to show your support. We love Anton. We told him to keep his head up. So make sure you guys go ahead and support that way. All right, with that being said, let's go ahead and get this show started. Let's get the likes up. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Shout out to the sponsor, T.H. Hanley. Make sure you guys click that link in the description as well. Get your 30% off along with your free gift. And welcome to the Sage Talk with Lee show. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Hey, good afternoon, Jara. I'm good.
It's going to be an interesting show.
It will.
I saw the title. I saw the thumbnail. I'm just like everybody else. What's the show going to be about, Lee?
Well, I think everyone will enjoy the show. I'm not the type of guy that really want to create no riff, but I think I have a voice and I've observed some things, and I just want to kind of add my voice to this conversation as I've been trying to grow my channel and carve out a space here on YouTube. But also I want to highlight things that I see. And over the past few weeks, I've seen a lot of different things that have been interesting. And all in all, I just think that the month of April have just been really we've just been getting a boatloads of different type of information that's content rich. And so I'm like, don't even know where to really start. But I think that if you guys, give me your time today, the things that I'm going to drop, I think you'll be very interested in hearing about. And I think the two gentlemen that I'm featuring, I think if and when they see the show, if they pop in today, would be cool. But if they see it on a replay, I think they'll find the information valuable as well.
All right, well, there you have it.
Grandpa Lee.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is that cool, cat? Grandpa Lee. I like it.
Yeah, well, there you go. Leon laid down the law. He laid down the blueprint of what's going to be discussed. Have a great show, brother. That's right. Hit that like button, y'all. And again, make sure you guys click that link It's in the description. We want to show Anton as much support as possible. That link takes you to Twitter. There's a post. Make sure you guys show your support in that post. Let's go ahead and flood that post right now. That link is in the description. Pass the word. Let's make sure we put that full support in full effect right now. All right, Lee.
Absolutely. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of Sage Talk. I'm your host, Lee. And, I'm going to jump right into it. Last year, Kevin Samuels said something that was very insightful. And he said 2022 is going to be a year of self awareness. And at that time, I didn't give it much thought, but probably like many others, I took it to mean it would pertain more to women. Mainly because in this space, many of us talk about women so much and the positive changes we would like to see come about through them. But what I've started to notice is that the new self awareness that I've been observing is revealing itself through Black men. And I'm really seeing some bright signs of this transformation showing up. And in particular, two men who have been representing the Black YouTube space for quite some years now. And from my observation, these two men could not be more different in terms of personality, character. I mean, they're like heads and tails of a coin. They're completely diametrically different, but including in the way in which they convey their message. But I've seen these brothers as spearheads in these YouTube streets build this sector, which has now become, in my view, a multi-million dollar sector within YouTube and possibly heading toward $1 billion probably by the end of 2022, if not already there, quiet as it's kept. And one of the things I wanted to talk about today is how can we find out from a business standpoint, how can we find out from Google what is the present value and the projected value of the Black Manosphere space? Because this sector is quite positive. And Google and their advertisers, they know what the value of this space is. And in my opinion, Google should make that information public, or at least upon request. But my suggestion, as I see things going forward, and as these brothers continue to build, guys like KS, TLA, Uncle D, the old man, AM, I think in actuality, it would be nice to see if they were able to form an association for this space to consolidate the power. And the real reason why I would like to see that is because as Black content creators, having an associations give you power because it's a group that speaks as one through many. Other Black content creators can sign on as members. And through the association, we can request the data, we can request to view the analytics, not for individuals, but for the whole sector of Black Manosphere, both for the advertisement revenue and for the subscriber base revenues. Obviously, not from an individual, but from a gross number. So we can see the projected growth, where we are today, and what's the forecast for the next 3 years. To me, this YouTube sector is becoming a financial giant. And the Black men, you guys, you guys have built this. I'm new. I'm just the rookie here. I don't know nothing. But to my knowledge, And I've been watching YouTube now, or this sector of YouTube now, for several years. And the two men who are featured in the thumbnail, Angry Man and Obsidian, these two men have been principally credited with the creation of this space and what this sector has become and will become. Now, I know that there is a third man, O'Shea Duke Jackson, which I like a lot of his content as well. But to be honest, O'Shea disappointed me about a month or so ago when he made the announcement that he was leaving the space. I mean, it, for me, coming from a business background and coming from Wall Street, one thing is not tolerated on Wall Street is a quitter. And when he made that announcement, that's what came to my mind. He was packing up shop, he was quitting. Didn't mean that he was going to quit his business, but he was removing himself as a member. And one thing I understand is that you don't build something great and then walk away, especially a media economic marketplace. You don't do that. You know, a lot of times what I've seen in terms of business, when a business become successful or is growing and is pushing into market share of other business, many times your competitors get uncomfortable. And when they get uncomfortable, they push back, they fight. And as a businessman or businessmen in this sector, I think we need to learn how to stand up and fight in a business way, not angrily. You have to fight for what you build. You know, it kind of remind me of that very famous statement that Van Diesel uttered in the Chronicles of Riddick. You eat what you kill. And it's very similar, I think, that phrase would apply to this space. And we know how the powers that be, how they move. They do the same thing, they run the same game plan time and time again. You know, we can see it in our neighborhoods through gentrification. They'll pull the resources out of the neighborhood through the media. They'll start labeling the neighborhood as criminal, high crime, drop the market value, and then investors come in, buy up property, and then rebuild, influx a whole lot of money, rebuild, and then price the present tenants out of the market, out of the area. We've seen that game plan so many times. And I think that report that came out a month or so, 6 weeks ago, that tried to label this space was a very similar tactic. And it made some men uncomfortable. But it's when you become uncomfortable that you got to realize that there's a motive behind what's being done. This space is growing by leaps and bounds. And I think we can't allow others to come in, take it over, and reap the benefits of what so many men have worked so hard to develop and grow. So I was very disappointed when Osei said he was leaving. I didn't like that because he's a pinnacle and kings don't run, kings fight. You just don't walk away. I know it was hard for us as men, as black men particularly, to stand up on principle, and that's something that we as black men really have to learn. And that those things may have been beaten out of us through slavery or whatever, whatever, whatever. But I don't want to get into the historicals. I'd rather deal from where we at. But I am a man that deal with things on principles. So I want to introduce that into the conversation at this point. I know, for us black men, we tend to not stand up on principle. The thing that motivate us particularly is money, cash. Principles seem to be something that's foreign to us. But I mean, when you look at this space right now, if we're not going to stand up for the principles and stand up for the money, because this is an economic giant that's growing in this sector. And we have to recognize that. And particularly the men who are at the forefront have to be able to recognize that. And we have to stop going about doing business solely for self. There's nothing wrong with building your own business, but you also have to build alliances if you want to be able to protect yourself. Earlier today, I watched a video on Elon Musk and how Bill Gates had sent him a few messages on Twitter wanting to have a meeting with him. But when he did his research, he saw that there was a $500 million on a short squeeze. And when he tracked it down, it was Bill Gates. So Bill Gates was shorting Tesla to crush the company financially. Yet in public communication, he was acting as though he wanted to be his friend. We have to be mindful of how business is played. We have to become more sophisticated. And so often we fall for the old okey doke all the time, whether it's divide and conquer, whether it's false advertisement by labeling a sector crime ridden or potential for crime or the image of crime, things of that nature. Labeling brothers as, whatever, violent. And when you do these things, or when they, and I'm going to use the word they, which I don't like to use, but when they do these things, we have to sometimes think for a minute before we react that is there a bigger play at hand that we don't see yet? And many times, because we are so reactionary, we tend not to see the play until it's all over, until we've been had, until we've been taken. So I don't want to talk too much about the business part. So I'm going to kind of like transition now and just talk more about what I've been noticing over the past week or so. This past week, I was watching YouTube, and since I moved to this new house a year or so ago, and I had changed my YouTube name, I hadn't really seen Angry Man stuff popping up in my feed. So I hadn't seen his stuff for like a year. And then for the past week to 10 days, 2 weeks, I've been seeing his stuff popping up again. So I've been checking him out and watching him and seeing what he's doing. And many times I'm busy, so I don't get to watch him much. So I might watch 40 minutes, half hour. But I will say what I've seen has totally blown me away. And not only Angry Man, but Obsidian as well. This past week, I saw some major videos that they dropped that just blew me away as a subscriber and a viewer. Now, I don't know either of these men personally, but I have watched their content for years, time and time when I have free time. Angry Man was the first one I saw, and this was probably back in 2017, 2018, or the end of 2017, somewhere abouts. And back then, he used to still be in a car, and he was doing his thing. And my immediate reaction when I first saw him a couple of times, I was like, wow, this brother is really passionate. And that's my sophisticated way of saying my real thoughts was more like, who is this crazy motherfucker? God damn, he's off the chain. That's my real thought. But he was a very passionate man in the way in which he communicated. And I liked it. And what I noticed is that he had a very articulate way with words. And what struck me was because at that time I was still teaching, and I have a similar skill as well. And he's able to use words to paint a picture to make you see the image of what he's saying. And for me as a teacher, I used to have to be able to make complicated things simple for my students to understand. And usually, when you put it in story form or in pictorial form, it's easy to comprehend. And we all know the saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I always was very impressed about the manner in which he was able to communicate. And not to take anything away from Obsidian, because one of the things I admire most about Obsidian is he always used resources. He sources data and his information with facts. He's well read and he supports his information with third party verification. So, he's never coming just speaking from an opinion point of view. And that kind of reminded me of one of my bosses I had on Wall Street years ago. And he hated people who challenged him because he was a very smart guy. He was well read and he was extremely successful. But on Wall Street is a very competitive environment, and you're not usually the only big shark on the trading floor. So you're going to get pushback. And from time to time, they used to bump heads. And I noticed it when he was challenged. I mean, this guy used to raise up and he would crush anyone verbally or production wise to shut people down whenever they tried to challenge his ability or his position. And I see a very similar way in which Obsidian communicates. There's an introduction that he used on one of his videos that speaks of a professor who says something to the degree that he only debates with his equals, not his subordinates. And I'm paraphrasing, so I may have that totally wrong. But if you listen to him, you probably know what I'm talking about. But like I said, this past week, they both dropped videos that just blew me away. On Friday, Obsidian dropped a video called Single Woman Generation X or Single Generation X Black Women, High Value Men, and a Brave New Black America. And that video, the way he broke things down and explained it, it was like I was listening to a totally complete different person. A lot of the vitriol in which he used to use to convey his message was not there. He really seemed like he came from a different space and a different place. And I was really taken aback by that. And then the second video I saw was a video by Angry Man on Saturday. And he dropped a video entitled Immaturity Has Been the Problem This Entire Time. And I would recommend anyone who's listening to Sage Talk today in your own time, definitely go check out those two videos because I think you'll see what I'm talking about. And what stood out to me, why I decided to do these streams, uh, to recognize both of these gentlemen, is because self awareness, from what Kevin was talking about last year, is producing itself not in Black women, but in Black men. Black men are becoming more self aware. Black men are starting to move differently. And because these men are content creators and are pinnacle in this industry and have been credited with the establishment of uh, the Manosphere, Black Manosphere 2.0, I said I would single these men out to represent how I wanted to have this conversation. And what I've seen is a level of growth from both of these brothers. And one of the things I noticed in terms of self awareness, being aware of your surroundings. From a business standpoint, being aware of this YouTube space, being aware of your audience, being aware of your purpose. Maturity. The maturity piece that Angry Man talked about, he really cited the squabbling and the fighting and how those things used to display itself on panels. And when he was explaining it, it kind of reminded me of like if you ever been to a party or a barbecue or a hangout and you're used to drinking and socializing and having a good time, but for whatever reason that day or that evening you didn't drink, and then you saw your buddies and they were drunk and how they behave when they were drunk, and in their mind they think they're cool, and you're sitting back watching at them and you're like, damn, I be acting like this too. And it's a very similar message he was conveying when he kind of like sat outside of himself and observed the behavior of others that he himself participating at some point previously. And I think that was something that really struck me. And the last thing I would say, well, not the last thing, but of the three things that I cited, I think freedom is the next part. Because with economics, when your economics improve, you get a sense of freedom in how you move. You're lighter, you have less stress. You could think about other things other than your bread and butter and a roof over your head and the bills that has to be paid for the month. When those things are covered and you have money for other things to socialize and to think 3, 5, 10 years into the future, it changes you. It puts you on a different level. And I'm starting to see that through these two men and the way in which their message is being conveyed. And for me, I think it's signal potentially a change that we could see by the end of this year as to how this whole Black Manosphere space can be transformative. I think they're very conscious of their brand, the name and its value. They're conscious of the content, the message that they communicate, and they understand that they themselves, as the creator, is separate from all of that. That there's the person who they are in their regular life, and then there's the content creator who they are in their business life. And for me, I'm starting to notice that they're separating the two and they're understanding the difference more clearly, and they are projecting that more professionally to their audience and their subscribers. And it's clear from my observation that their business will not suffer anymore from personal, emotional stuff that used to creep into the content, which affects the brand negatively. And don't get me wrong, I understand the power of emotions and how emotions coupled with passion can be used to drive a message home and its necessity. But it's better when it's used as a tool for an effect as opposed to being reactionary when you're triggered. And I think what I observed and saw over this past week was two men that was completely on a different level with regard to their professionalism, their content, the way in which they communicated it, their poise. I think self-awareness have truly hit both of these men through their experience, of course, but it is now manifesting itself in a way where it's obvious you can see these men will rise and beginning to rise fast. And I'm not a forecaster, But I've seen many business succeed, and I've seen many business fail. And from what I've witnessed this past week, I think they have found the secret sauce to themselves. They've tapped into something that they know now works, and it's beneficial to themselves and to their audience. And I think maturity and self-awareness has played a significant part in the transformation of both of these men. Why I chose to use the pyramid as a background, because the pyramid had been used throughout history since it has been created to represent ancient and future transformations. I mean, you look at the back of the United States dollar, and what you see is the pyramid there. The pyramid adds foundation. It says history. It says grounded. But you also have a capstone, which also says light, the future, wisdom, knowledge, a new frontier. And that's why I said at the top, a new level, because I see a new level coming. And I believe that these two brothers are going to be instrumental in that if they decide to make that step as well. Individually, I think they will begin to grow in leaps and bounds because their content will just transform. And I've already seen insight to the transformation. And it's something that I've wanted to see for quite some time because it's two men that I respected. And before I really broadened my viewing audience out into this space, those were the two men primarily that I watched because of the passion in which they communicated their messages. Yes, the pyramid adds solid foundation, and the Black Manosphere space is a solid foundation. And I think another thing I think, as Black men, we need to take note of. Like I said, they have found the secret sauce to what works for them, which will transform them. But as Black men as a whole, if we can find the secret sauce to building a profitable media empire, what we're doing in this sector on YouTube, if we fully understand the dynamics of that, we could go anywhere and do that. We don't need to just be on YouTube to do that. I remember, when I was in sales years past, some guys need to learn the script, to learn the rebuttals. They need to learn all the dynamics of sales. But there were some people who were just naturally adept, linguistically capable, knew the product, and knew how to communicate with people. And they just excel quickly. Fortunately, I was one and I did well. And one of the things after about a couple of years of you being successful, when you usually get to the stage where you're building a team, you're hiring assistants, your bosses will always come to you and say, Lee, I need you to deconstruct what it is that you do. How is it that you are able to do this? I need you to break it down step by step so we can make that into a trainable metrics so we can train people to do what you do instinctively for them to learn it and do it mechanically. And I think one of the key in understanding what it is that we do here and the brothers who are at considered the spear's head of the success of this Black Manosphere space. And they're all very well educated brother. Yes, MTR is such a man as well. And I didn't mention MTR, but definitely he's one. But he was one also that decided to step off. I'm not sure why. That could be personal, but I didn't want to put him in that same category when I with spoke about O'Shea, because O'Shea was clear while he was leaving, and I heard with regard to MTR secondhand. So I didn't want to kind of couple him in that same conversation. But what I'm saying is that if we could truly understand what it is that we're doing here in building this media sector, and we can find out the secret sauce and then make the formula, we could do it anywhere. We could build any sector on any platform, whether they're owned by someone else or we build our own. So I want to leave the conversation there for now. I want to open it up to the panel and those of you who would like to add anything that you would add, because some of you may know both Obsidian and Angry Man far more so than I do. I don't necessarily have never had communication with Angry Man personally. I've reached out to Obsidian from time to time. He and I have spoken, but we don't speak on a day-to-day basis. But I know him somewhat. So I thought I saw a brother in the chat. His internet might have dropped. Cool cat, like your message. I did the same when I was in sales management. Absolutely. Quincy, continue blessing and health healing to MTR. Absolutely. Great brother. Yes, Kenyatta. I learned that in the 80s, they would run down into the basement on you, leaving you with nothing. That's funny. Okay, what was that? AM dropped some gems on Anton's panel last night. I didn't get a chance to watch that. I went to bed early. But yeah, I think, matter of fact, he did made a mention on another stream. I think the one that I did mention, that he was on Anton's panel, and he had a chance to come into this space in the Lapeef Network. And matter of fact, he said it was not what he anticipated, because he had heard a lot of negative things about the Lapeef Network. And then when he came on Anton's channel, it was nothing from what he heard. So one of the things he realized was that, you can't really go by what other people say. If you have an interest in something, you got to go find out for yourself, because a lot of times people be picking alliances for whatever reason. They pick alliances, who they like, who they don't like, and a lot of times those alliances shift and change, and they can leave you out there hanging from time to time. So he was very surprised, and he had some positive things to say about the Lapeef Network as well. So kudos to Insight. Money Life Business. Like it. Okay. An American Man. Good afternoon. How are you, sir?
How you doing, brother? I'm doing well. I just kind of wanted to speak on the Osei Du Jackson situation. Um, that's because I hold him in high reverence, and I kind of wanted to, I don't know, give you some pushback on the focus on this. I love the idea of like um, a congregated network for like a male space. Um, but I wanted to give you some
When you said
pushback.
congregated network, can
Yeah,
you
like
clarify that?
when you were talking about how we kind of it would be a good idea for all the people in this male space, specifically a black male space, to kind of come together and come on to maybe one channel or what have you. At least kind of come together on maybe multiple few channels and kind of just make it easier to keep track of the metrics and make deals with outside, you know,
Entities.
yeah, outside entities. Um, I completely agree with that. But what I'll give you pushback on is this focus on people in the manosphere, because I don't think the manosphere is um, the specific space where all of this has to go down. I don't think that anybody that would be a part of that coming together, that amalgamation would need to be a part of, or need to consider themselves a part of the manosphere, because I do kind of agree with some people saying that the manosphere can be a bit dramatic and it can be a bit immature, um, with some of the infighting, and it's kind of like diva-esque at points. Um, so I wouldn't disagree with anybody who would distance themselves
Well,
from this space.
we have men in this space that are young,
Mhm.
in their early
I'm one of them.
20s.
Yeah,
Okay. They have men in their late 20s. They have men in their early to mid 30s.
yeah,
And there are men going into their 40s, 50s, and 60s, like myself.
for sure.
So there are different level of men, different level of knowledge, and different level of experience
Yeah.
in this space. However, uh, there are men. How can I say this? The initial idea
Hmm.
that germinated this whole Black manosphere space as a men's space was started by those three men,
Yeah.
included O'Shea, right?
Hmm.
And it has broadened itself now to include many different type of guys with different ideas.
Right.
And that's fine because the space is growing. And that's what happens when it grows,
Yeah.
right? But if it was a wheel, the hub of that wheel from which all the spokes stem
Hmm.
is the Black manosphere.
I can agree with that. I just think that in the spirit of inviting men with different idea points, not necessarily every idea point, because not every idea point needs to
Well, no
be
one is going to agree on
accepted.
everything.
Right, exactly.
That's idealistic,
Yeah,
but it's not practical.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I would give, that's kind of the reason why I felt the need to give pushback on the idea that, um, you know, O'Shea leaving the manosphere is something to even, I mean, I can't tell you how to feel, but I would give pushback
Well,
on the,
I'm not speaking from feelings. Usually if I speak with feelings, it's when I'm
mm,
speaking to a woman that I care about, usually my mom, my sister,
yeah,
once upon a time when I was married,
mm,
or a girlfriend that I have some strong emotions
yeah.
for.
Well, I can't
But I
tell
don't
you what to
speak with
think.
men about my feelings.
I understand. I can't tell you what to think, but I would say I would give some pushback on the idea that O'Shea leaving the manosphere is an event to be disappointed about. Just for this, for the fact that I think his reasoning was valid. You know, um, I wouldn't disagree with him on any of the points that he made and why he was leaving. Uh,
Who's
um,
this?
as well as MTR. She's a part of the Lapeef Network, the very integral part.
Okay, one second. Let me read this chat. O'Shea not like how it was moving, I guess the manosphere.
Yeah,
So he exited, trying to figure out what the problem is.
yeah, yeah. That's kind of
What's
my
that?
point. Yeah,
Well, that's the thing. You don't make dramatic moves when you don't know the reasons why.
well,
I think,
I think it would be
go
kind
ahead.
of I think it would be kind of um, a little bit pretentious to assume that, I mean, O'Shea didn't know the reasonings why certain things were happening, because he's, like you said, he's the hub. He's in the mix. He is the mix.
Yes, he is in the mix.
So so I think to say he
I think
doesn't
the
know
reason was
why
fear.
the things were happening.
I think the reason was fear.
Hmm. Expound on that if you would.
I think the reason was fear. Now I could be totally wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ever want to send me a message, you can send me a message, or you'll probably make a show about me and and diss me. Who the hell knows? But
Why do you
I
think it
can
was
take it, so
fear?
it won't be no big deal there. But I think it was premature action, and you have to be strategic when you do things
Mm-hmm.
business wise. You never telegraph what you're going to do,
Yeah,
and many times I like misdirection,
for sure.
and I like people to think one thing when I'm actually
Doing
doing
another.
something
Yeah,
else.
it's very useful.
So,
What about that move made you think it was fear though?
okay, 1 second. There are those feelings again. Well, I don't use feelings in my evaluation. I'm not going to get into all the reasons why I believe that, but there
Mm-hmm.
was some things happening at the time. There was
Yeah.
some news coming out about incels and the violence of incels and an FBI report, and
Mm-hmm.
these things were being pinned to the Black Manosphere sector, and then some things happened in the Black Manosphere with regard to a few
Yeah.
one or more
Son.
content creator,
Yeah.
and
Young.
then individual decided to step back.
Yeah. I I would
But
challenge.
in my mind, I saw that as gentrification moves.
Mm,
When you want to gentrify the Black community, you run up the crime statistics so you can run down the property value. Then you get investors to come in and buy at cheap prices,
mm,
and then you build anew and you raise the prices so the people who are there can't afford to be there, and you move 90% of the people out, and then
mm.
you move 90% of the kind of people you want in.
Yeah. So you thought he left the space
So I
open to
think it was a
insurgency?
business move that was being done on this sector, and some people reacted as
Mm,
planned.
mm.
That's how I see it. I mean,
What?
I come from a
Mm,
financial background, so
yeah.
everything I analyze and I filter through what is
That
the
type of fact.
objective, what
Yeah.
is the goal. And when it comes to making deals,
Mm-hmm.
scams or otherwise, I've witnessed many.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've had guys walk into the office where I work, look my boss in the face and tell him, we got such and such a state legislator in our back pockets. Move this stock and you get paid.
Mm-hmm.
So trust me, I know how people can move. People with money and power and access.
Yeah.
And YouTube is no damn different.
No, I wouldn't disagree. I would say that based on the things that were happening in the space at that time, and the fact that the people, um, who are making those mistakes, because I think it's safe to call them mistakes. Um, the people who are making those mistakes, being accepted as part of the community and by certain community leaders, um, I think it's quite reasonable for somebody to make the
Make
decision
that
to
assumption.
no to make the decision to leave a space that
Right.
was
To make the assumption
no,
as
no,
to
that's not
how
what
they
I'm saying.
analyze the information to then formulate the decision
No,
on
I'm
the
kind of
actionable step.
I'm speaking on O'Shea's departure. I think what I'm saying is based on the actions of those young content creators and the acceptance of those young content creators by certain leaders, other leaders than O'Shea in the space, I think it would be reason. I think his reaction is a reasonable reaction for anybody logical who would say, I created this thing, right? And then certain people come in and I feel like they're diluting the message or diluting the purity of the space that I created. This isn't my space anymore. I think it made sense to me because of what they did and kind of what those guys were about and are still about. Um, it made sense to me that O'Shea would want to leave something that embraced that, even if that thing was something he created or had a hand in creating.
Well, he's a very talented man. I would say that.
Because I think we
And I
can all
think,
agree with what those guys did. Most people wouldn't,
well,
or what those
it's not
guys said.
past tense, it's
Most,
present tense.
yeah, I think we can all agree that some of these guys in the manosphere aren't the best role models for people my age, young men, young black men
Why do you
specifically
say
like
that?
me. Um, certain men spread
One
a.
second, American man.
Mhm,
Courtney, if you like, you can punch up and you can come up and explain what you know
mhm.
and give me some clarity. Go ahead. You're muted. American man, you're muted.
Yep, yep. We're
Go
all
ahead.
aware of this idea of red pill rage, and I think certain men kind of tap into that and fester that in people and and um kind of instead of solving the problem, they make it worse, so a certain men kind of make women the enemy, when if our goal is to increase the amount of households and marriages and unities between men and women, why would we want to make women out to be the enemy? And I think certain men are great at making women the enemy and tapping into those men still going through red pill rage and having disdain for women
Well,
and monetizing that.
red pill rage is just a stage of awareness, right?
Mm. But you
I
can get
mean,
stuck in it for
are you
sure.
aware? Are you aware of what red pill rage is?
Yeah, I mean, you can explain it
Okay.
for people that, I mean, some
I'm
people
just
might
saying
not
it's a
know.
stage of awareness.
But some people can definitely get stuck in. I know men that are like
Well,
that
different
believe
people
that
deal with
vehemently.
anger
Hmm.
and what they may view as betrayal
Yeah,
differently than others.
yeah,
Some people overcome it sooner than others. Some people take a longer period of time
and some
to
succumb,
overcome it, right?
and some succumb
Not
to it.
everybody get over rage quickly. Some people, their rage is instant, short-lived,
Hmm.
but it could be highly destructive.
Right. Yeah.
Some people have a prolonged period of rage, but it's less outwardly destructive and sometimes can be more inwardly destructive.
Mm.
And that's where they may need
Well, yeah,
counseling to overcome it.
yeah. There's a whole slew of
So there are
ways
different
to.
ways to deal with rage, but
Right. Yeah.
it's all part of an awareness in which men come to understand
Hmm.
how society is and how women are moving in society.
For
And
sure.
it's not of making them an enemy, it's dealing with them in a way to protect yourself and your
Hmm.
resources and not to fall into the point where you get entrapped,
Yeah. Hmm.
right?
Because what
Because
I
if
see
you're
a lot.
unaware,
Uh-huh.
you could be entrapped.
Right. Yeah. Because what I see a lot of the time, or with these people that I'm specifically speaking about, is the treating of like the modern woman as like as a like this is who that person is, instead of treating it like an invasive virus. And I feel like that's the most productive way to treat women that
Treat what?
like this
Red
mindset
pill?
that no this mindset that modern women have. um, and what I'm saying is certain people that
Well, you don't
these
have to treat
people.
it any kind of way because
I
it's
mean,
not
we have
something
to
that
because it
infects
needs to be
you.
solved,
It's
right?
something that is done to you if you're unaware of it, right?
For sure.
Red pill is an awareness
I'm not talking
of it.
about red pill rage. I'm talking about the mindset that modern women have, and
Right. What about it?
I'm saying that the certain people that kind of feed off of and monetize these men going through red pill rage, what
What's
they'll
wrong
do.
with that?
Well, what's wrong with that is it kind of turns red pill rage into this long drawn out where people will be subjected and subdued to red pill rage, instead of it being a stage that just turns into somebody's belief about the world, and that they
Okay.
just stay in
One second. One
that
second.
space,
One sec.
that
One
hurt
second.
space.
Brolik Sean, angry man is good for the manosphere. His outlook on being a man at all times. I agree with that.
Mm.
Well, first of all, I think you have to, and you're a young man. How old are you, by the way?
I'm 24.
24.
Yes, sir.
What I would say is that making profit off of a behavior gives it more awareness and
Mhm.
spreads it to a wider
Right.
audience,
That's
right?
kind of my point. Yeah.
Which is what is necessary because you don't want a small group of men being aware of a large group of women. You want as large a possible group of men being
Mhm.
aware of the behavior of a large group of women.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the awareness that's the issue. It's the response of this red pill rage that's the issue, and spreading that as the appropriate
Well,
response
no one is spreading
to.
red pill rage.
I would beg to differ, for sure. I would
No,
beg to
what
differ
happens is that
because
people
we.
interpret the information that they know or find out about women, and
Mhm,
then their reaction to it can be in a rage. So,
that's
what
kind
you
of
call
the
red
same
pill
thing.
rage is a reaction. No one spreads the reaction, they spread the knowledge about what women do and their behavior.
I would
And
beg to
then
differ
people
that
have a
that
reaction to that.
well, I would say that some people say, like, present the information and then say, this is how you should respond to that. Like I think the people
But the
that I think
response to it is not in a
you're referring
rage.
the.
I've never heard any
Mhm,
content creator, both on the general manosphere where white men are,
mhm.
or in the black manosphere where most black men are. I've never heard anyone suggest that you deal with it violently or in a
Yeah, for
rage.
sure. Well,
They
maybe
they speak
maybe.
about it. They speak about it in the
Mhm,
sense that how to move to insulate yourself as best as
mhm.
possible,
Well,
both
maybe I should have
emotionally
I should have just
and
um
financially.
maybe I should have actually laid out what I've been told or
What have you been
described
told? Okay, speak from your point of view.
what I've been described red pill rage as, which is this, like, kind of like a pseudo MGTOW feeling where it's like these, like, women are bad, and because women are bad, you act like this, and like
And
that's
what
kind
is
of what I'm
this? Give
speaking
me an
about.
example of this. When you say you
Where it's
act
kind
like
of,
this.
some men will just say to turn your back altogether on women, which is the MGTOW movement. Some men will say, use women for sex or sexual gratification, which doesn't really have a name, but I mean, maybe
But
kind of the
but
idea
both
of
both
spinning
sex
plates.
do that, right? Both sex
For
do that,
sure, that doesn't make it
right?
right. Right.
Women use men for sexual gratification and
Mhm.
resources,
But I
right?
think if we're to chastise women for doing that, we shouldn't turn around and do that, right?
Well, some men are trying to chastise women for them to change.
Mm,
Some men don't care. They're just swimming in the waters,
mhm,
taking making the best of the situation.
mhm. Well, I would say that, I mean, you're right. Um,
I mean,
but just because
let me ask you this.
I
Let me
don't
ask you
understand
this.
the
Is
point
your
of what you're
objective
saying.
to change
Yeah.
women's behavior?
Um, I mean, yeah, it changed men and women's behavior for
No,
sure.
no. Answer the question. Is your objective to change women's behavior?
At an individual level, I would say no. Like individual women, no. But as
Okay.
as an
Okay.
like
But
as
so
a
you
whole,
want to
the
change
average
a
of all
large group
women's
of women's
behavior.
behavior.
Yeah,
Is
like
that what
like
you're
the
saying?
the average accepted behavior for women, I would say.
Okay.
That's how I would word it.
So have you ever changed one woman's behavior?
For sure, yeah. In like
Who?
individual relationships.
Yes, individual relationship.
Yeah.
You've been able to change one woman's behavior. From what to what?
I mean, are we just speaking in general or just like in
No,
a
I'm asking you because you said you don't want to speak about changing one woman's behavior. You want to be
yeah.
able to change a large group of women's behavior.
I think the
So for you to
goal
be able
of
to
this whole space
affect
should be, yeah.
multiple women in a large group,
Mhm.
I would think you have to be able to prove that you're able to do it on
with
a
a
singular
singular
way
level.
first.
I get
So
you.
I'm trying to ask, where have you done that singularly
Mm.
for you to at least prove your concept that it works, then to spread it to the masses?
Yeah, I got you. So, I mean, in individual relationships with how women see men and like their role for men, like, I mean, it's kind of a requirement for to have a relationship in this day and age. You kind of have to be adept at changing women's minds about what a man is and what a man needs to do and what a woman needs to do and what a woman is. So, I mean,
Okay,
I think
but you haven't answered my question.
yeah, I just said in my past in every past relationship I've had to change. I've kind of had to mold a woman from being like a feminist to kind of a more, at
So
least
you've changed
slowly
a woman that was a feminist into becoming what?
into more a traditional woman. Yeah, it's kind of like a
And if you did
necessity
that,
at this
why are you
point
not with the woman?
because I don't think I'm ready as a 24-year-old to be a husband. I think women my age need to be with older men until until men my age are older and more set, you know.
Well, to a degree, economically, you're right. But
Mm,
in time past, both black women and black men married early in their
for
early
sure.
20s,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
I mean,
Hmm.
that's how you get a life together
For
of
sure.
40, 50 years,
Yeah, for sure.
right? Okay. So just trying to get clarification. One second.
Yeah, and I would also
Uh,
say that the whole thing about changing women as a whole, I didn't I maybe I didn't make that clear. I didn't mean my specific objective. I meant like I think that's the whole point of like this manosphere space. Like I think women like the one that was commenting
well,
earlier
some men have
would
different
agree.
messages, right?
Hmm,
Some
for
men would
sure.
like to see more black families with
Right. Yeah.
black women and black men.
I think that's the most
And
progressive
some men
idea,
are of the opinion that women are not going to change.
which is kind of false. It's happened in this
And if
space. We
and
see
if
it.
they're not going to change, then you just need to put yourself in a position to excel and
Yeah,
live the best life that you can live
yeah.
with or without a woman in
I
your
think
life.
that's the more immature outlook, and like you would have to not accept reality to have that outlook because you see it in this space. There are women all over this space that I mean that are pushing the same values that we are. So, and that have came out and admitted, yeah, I used to be a feminist, or I was taught to hate men, or this and that, and now I don't. So, I
But
mean, to have that
you're
outlook,
young.
you would have to be, you would have to kind of close your eyes to the reality that you're faced with every
Well,
day.
I would say this. You're very young. You're 24 years old.
Yeah,
One of
sure.
the things you should never do with a woman is believe what she say. You should watch
I
what
mean,
she
that's
do.
kind of anybody for real.
No, I'm not talking about anybody because you said as part of your confirmation
Hmm.
that there are many women who are in this space and they
Hmm.
talk about how they used to be feminists. And
Hmm.
what I said to you is don't pay attention to what they say,
Hmm.
see what they do, and
Yeah,
that
for
will be
sure.
your verification. If
Like
the
the woman.
words and their
Mhm.
action don't match up,
Yeah.
something ain't right,
Like the woman that commented earlier about in defense of O'Shea, just
right?
this morning on the live stream, she brought her child onto the live stream and asked her what like her purpose was as a woman and like what color do boys wear, what color do girls wear, and like what your purpose is as
Me,
a
I think that's
woman.
a common sense thing.
Okay.
And the child basically like said I'm trying to be a wife. My goal is to be a
Cause
wife
we
in
don't.
life. And
Right,
so
but that's
I'm what I'm
but
saying is
that's
what I mean by that, what
that's
I'm saying
right.
by referring to that, if you let me finish my point,
It's
is
a common sense thing,
is
Lee.
yeah, I think the whole I think what I meant by you should deal with everyone like that is that's a common sense thing, is that like of course don't
No, I'm gonna
believe what
explain to you
somebody
what I mean. I'm gonna
says,
explain to you. I'm gonna explain
believe
to you
what
what I
they
mean.
do.
I'm gonna explain to you what I mean by common sense. It's just like this morning on the show. The women's could explain to you how they daddy took them out, how they daddy told them how a woman need to be treated. But
Mm,
what you didn't look for was the women that had sons. They never said, "Well, I took my sons out and I showed them how a woman's supposed to treat them."
Mhm.
See, what you don't understand is women now in your group, they're trying to move up. And the
Mhm.
problem is you got the
Well, I
average
do
woman trying
understand
to,
that.
you got the average woman trying to marry up. And you
Mhm.
can, you right now, if you was to ask women to define what's a, you could define what's the average man, but you can't define what's the average woman. And that's where the common sense and the disconnects coming in. Because
Mhm.
like when Lee was talking about the average woman married the average man. But now what
Mhm.
you got, Lee, you got the average woman that thinking they're Rihanna, they're Beyonce, and they're
Mhm.
Kevin Gates' wife,
Drinker, yeah.
Drika Gates. They think they look like that, and they don't. And they don't know that they
Well,
just
even
act.
if they do,
They're
those
just
women
like
still
they're
used
just
to
like
marry the bus drivers, and those even women that do look like that, they
no. Let me
still
let me finish.
used
Let
to
me finish.
marry average men as
Let me
well.
finish. Let me finish. Let me ask you something. Did your mama teach you what a good woman is and what a good woman ain't?
No, no, not at all.
I
She didn't
know.
teach me what a good man was either. Yeah.
I
Well,
know,
your
but what
mother
I'm
can't
saying
teach you
though,
what is a
that
good
would be
man.
defined for you
Hmm.
through
Yeah.
in
Your
life what
mother
a good
can't
man
teach you
is.
what is a good man,
Hmm.
right? That's your
Yeah.
father's job.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
but why
sure.
she didn't teach you what a
Okay.
good woman is? Because
I
women don't
mean,
teach their son what a good woman is.
for sure. Well, most, yeah, I would agree. Yeah, for sure.
All right then. So the problem is, Lee, we got an average man complex on our hand in the manifest, and it's a lack of common sense coming from the woman's side and the man's side because a woman would think that, oh, well, Leroy came in there, he put it down last night. He really liked me. No, Leroy don't
Hmm.
like you. Leroy made you happy, but you didn't make Leroy. And she don't even
Hmm.
understand, well, why, well, what am I doing wrong? It ain't nothing
Hmm.
that you're doing wrong.
Hmm.
So it's a common sense issue on both parts. But what I'm still saying though,
Hmm.
if you was to ask a panel of women what's an average woman is, they
Hmm.
couldn't tell you. But if I was to ask a panel of men what's an
Hmm.
average man is, they could tell me what an average man is.
Hmm.
But they can't tell me what an average woman. What I'm gonna show you what I mean by that. What's the judge that just got elected to the Supreme Court, Lee? Kachanja
Uh,
Brown.
yeah.
All right. To most people, she married a white guy, but she married a doctor, right?
Hmm.
So in me
Yes.
and your eyes, cause we older, we know she moved up, right? She moved up the ladder because they both were equal. If they both were just regular folks and she married a doctor, she moved up. See, these women wifing up, and men don't see that. They're just like
Well, she
Russell
kind of
Wilson.
married adjacent
Hold
because
on,
she's
let
a
me finish. They're
judge and
just
she
like
was a
Russell
lawyer,
Wilson.
so it
They're
was
just like
more
Russell Wilson and
adjacent.
Well,
Sierra, right? Sierra married up, but
when she
Russell
got
Wilson
married,
didn't
she
marry
wasn't
up.
a judge.
She was a
You
lawyer
understand what I'm
before that,
saying,
right,
Lee?
or
Right.
something like that.
So when she got married, she wasn't a judge.
Was she a lawyer
Yeah,
before or
she married
something?
up. She didn't
If
marry down.
if she
That's
was a
what these
lawyer,
women
I
do.
feel like doctors and lawyers are kind of adjacent. You know.
No, but she
Well,
still
not every
married up.
doctor becomes successful, and
Right.
not every
Yeah.
lawyer becomes successful,
That's true.
right?
I don't know
So
the
just
point of
because you
saying
may
that,
have
but
the accreditation or the skill, the license,
I don't think
mhm.
he
not
understand the
everyone
concept of what I'm saying.
demonstrate the
I
same
understand what you're saying.
capacity.
I'm gonna show you what I mean. If you were to see her right now, and you
Hmm.
was a
Well,
doctor yourself,
let's not talk about OG. Let's not talk about Cassandra Brown and women marrying up, because that's not really the conversation I
Hyperbole.
want to have. The
Yeah.
oh, okay.
conversation I want to have is the Black Manosphere, where
Hmm.
we see it going. Do we see value in it? And how can we strengthen the Black Manosphere and make it more financially sound as a market space?
Hmm.
Okay, you gotta bring common sense into it then, Lee. Because a lot of these young fellas lacking common sense. They still got value. They're young men. They still got great value. They can become great fathers. They can become great leaders. They just need to be trained in the right direction and not to give up on themselves and to believe themselves because they
Yeah.
have one bad relationship. They throwing everything in, man, and that's not the way to go. You got to love yourself. You got to
Yeah.
believe in yourself. And they need a show called The Average Man because, the average man is going through the same problems, really, if you really look at it, Lee. Now the world is an oyster to a rich man or a high value man, but to the average man, he's still dealing with the same problems, Lee, that he'd have dealt with whether it was 40s or 30s.
Hmm.
You know,
Say again?
I said the average man is still dealing with the same problem that he'd have dealt with in the 30s or 40s, basically, because if it, but the high value man and the rich man, the world is still the same to them.
Hmm.
The only thing it changes for the average man. A lot of these young fellas got bright future. They just giving up on themselves. They ain't got no confidence in themselves.
That's a fact.
Well,
yeah.
they don't have a
They
drive
don't
for
even understand
success.
how bright their future is, Lee.
Or how bright it could be if they work
What
for
do
it.
you do, American man? What do you do for a living?
I'm a software engineer.
See that?
Software engineer?
Yeah.
On which, software engineer is
I
is a
do I
broad
create
field.
I create SaaS products. So
Okay.
software, yeah,
Okay.
software as a service in the
Do you
medical
work
industry.
independently or for a corporation?
Yeah, for a corporation, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. You have more than a year experience already?
No, I don't. Yeah, I just
So you're
changed
new.
careers. Yeah,
Okay.
I
All
was a
right.
chef before. So like I was a kitchen manager and chef and stuff like that. And
Okay.
then, but the salary cap was, I was making like a little over 50, and I felt like the salary cap was kind of low for me, so I changed careers.
Right. So what's your salary? Uh, what's the salary range in the new
In
area
the
where you are
software
now?
the software engineering, it could be like 400,000 if you do the right things. I mean,
Right, but
it's
you
the world.
start at a particular entry level based
Yeah,
on your skills, right?
yeah. You enter at about 70, around 70.
Okay.
If you negotiate, yeah, they'll try
So
to give you like around 50 to 70.
what's your timeline to get yourself to 200?
To 200, I would say like around 10 years. I want to be making more than like
10 years?
10 years. I would say I want to be making more than like 300. Yeah, for sure. 5 years is like 150, 200, and then like 10 years for like the 300 range, I would say.
That sounds like a long time
I mean, it
for
is.
that field
Yeah,
because the field changes by leaps and bounds,
you always have to study. Yeah,
every 18 months or so.
yeah,
I mean, 10 years from now, you'll have
yeah,
AI
yeah.
and
You already
robotics
do. Yeah.
operating fully operational within society. So
Mm.
it's unlikely that you would just be reaching 200,000 in a decade.
No, I
I think
mean,
your progression,
I'm open to it.
you just
Honestly,
got there, so I
70,
think you may
yeah,
have to
70,000
feel
is
out the area
already,
more.
yeah,
Say again?
70,000 is already above average. So it's like for anybody, it's it's
Above
already
average for who? I mean,
above
for the
American
field,
average.
or the average American person.
Yeah, above the American average. So
Okay, but if you're
that's why I'm like
comparing it,
for anybody,
to the average
it's a good
American person,
career
you're defeating yourself to be able to succeed.
for
You need
sure.
to compare yourself to others like you in your
Mhm.
field.
Yeah, for
That's where you
sure.
make the comparison
No, but
because
I'm
that's how
saying as
you
far as a
grow.
career choice,
Right, as the
choice.
career choice. You're
No,
in SaaS now, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
you
yeah,
got to compare yourself to SaaS
yeah.
engineers and how they
But
progress, not
but
to
my whole
everybody else in
yeah,
the society.
I think you're misunderstanding my point in saying that.
What's that?
My point in saying that is to say that, I mean, for anybody, it's a good career choice because you would
No, I
be
wasn't
making
asking
more
for anybody.
than
I asked you a
average,
specific question.
for
I
sure.
said, how
That was
long do
my
you
point in
think
saying that.
it would
Is
get
what
you
I'm saying.
to 200,000? You said a decade. And then I
Yeah,
laid
around
out a
that's a
few things.
reasonable, outlook. That's from what I've heard. I mean, there are people who work in the industry for a decade and don't get that. I mean, the average salary in this industry is
Right,
like
but
100.
You should do your
If
own
you let me finish,
investigation,
yeah,
and then
I
you should
did,
map out,
and
see
what
what
I'm
I
saying is
asked you.
about the
Go
results
ahead.
of the investigation that I did. The average salary in the industry is about 120. So there are some people in the industry. There are most people in the industry don't even get up to 200. So 200 is excelling.
Well,
So if you look at the average numbers, if you go check the statistics for the
right, but those
averages,
numbers are changing constantly, right?
yeah, for
Let's see.
sure. I mean, all
Uh,
the averages do. For
Serious
sure.
Geek, he said, thanks for the $10 super chat. It says, it doesn't take 10 years. I got up to 200,000 in
I
two and a
mean,
half years as a
I'm
software
glad that you
engineer.
did it. I'm glad that you did it.
Okay.
But most people
So,
don't ever get it. So what
right.
I'm
But
saying,
well, what
yeah.
I'm saying is that you're
So it's
comparing yourself to
possible.
most people.
No, I'm not.
And what I'm saying is you need to not compare yourself to most people.
For
What you
sure.
need to do is look at your market sector where you are,
For sure.
look at the top line, look at
For
the
sure.
mid-range line,
This is all
look at
pretty
the
much common
people who
sense.
came in at your level, where they are,
Yeah.
and then map out a strategy on how you can get to the next level. How do
For
I get
sure.
to 100? How
Yeah,
do I get to
that's how you
125?
succeed at
How do I
anything.
get to
For sure.
150?
Yeah.
And cut that time in half.
Yeah, for sure.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
I'm
Okay.
just speaking
All
on
right. Hold
what
on 1 second.
anybody
Let me bring
who
up
would get
Dr.
into the
Panderson.
industry, what would
Say
be a
again?
realistic expectation for them to have for themselves.
But if you set you can't set realistic
I'm speaking in
expectation in a
generalities,
sector
right?
that is
Because that's the
totally
most healthy way to speak.
unrealistic. Technology is a sector that's growing by leaps and bounds
For
year
sure.
over year.
For sure.
So what is realistic today, or what is unrealistic today, I should say, tomorrow can be totally realistic,
For sure.
and you could be
Yeah.
that could be the low range. What you're looking at is unrealistic now.
For sure.
18 months from now could be the low range,
Yeah.
depending on what sector you're in. So
Yeah.
try not to make the comparisons to such a broad swath of people, and narrow it
Mhm.
down to the scope of engineering where you are. And then how can I excel and outperform in my sector, as opposed to looking at everybody else and saying, I'm beating this guy, so forget about that.
For sure.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I
Okay,
get
cool. 1 second. Dr. Panderson, you're muted. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, what's going on? All is well.
Hey, how are you?
All is well. Or at least I think it
Okay.
is. I was gonna let OG Frost go ahead and finish. Sir, he wanted to talk.
Say again?
Yeah. Yeah. Lee,
OG Frost go ahead and close out or say what he's gonna say.
yeah,
Okay,
what
go
I
ahead.
was saying, Lee, is they don't even most of these people in each generation, they don't even know the first thing to teach their children. They don't know that the first thing they're supposed to teach their children is to honor their father and their mother and the fear of the Lord. They don't even know to teach them that. So it's a lack of common sense, man. I'm telling you. They don't even listen to learn, man. They listen to respond. You know, man, when we came up, we listened to older people, we listened to learn and see what was valued, but they don't got those skills, Lee. That's why I say
Well,
they
I'm not
great young men. They great
I'm
young
not
men.
looking to do a values show today to try to make brothers aware of values that they may have missed and need to go back and maybe learn.
Yeah.
That might be another show. I'm not sure if it'll be one of my show, but there are content creators out here who are addressing some of those things. But I come from a financial industry space, so I want to for today. I want to talk about how Black men could do better, however that might be, right?
Is to keep doing
Whether
what you're
it's in
doing,
your
Lee.
business or if you're a content creator, as a content creator. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sure. Go ahead, Dr. Panderson.
I think in the manosphere, I think the darkest hole for Black men is emotional intelligence.
Okay.
Biggest reason for a year, 2 years has been, man, high value man. These women out here, they won't do this. We ain't doing this. These women, this. Okay, we get it. But at the end of the day, people are going to do what they're going to do. Just like they're trying to jam 50K down women's throats. No, I make 50,000. You don't take me. You're going to live a miserable life. No, men, work on your soft skills. This is a woman. Women think in their feelings. Talk about men, how to talk to a woman in her feelings. That's who she is. Men are not going to change. Women are not going to change when it comes to their actual nature. Women are emotional. If you are so hardcore Johnny Logic and you talk and stuff the logic down a woman's vein, who's going to teach your kids? How you going to raise a daughter? They think in their emotions. Emotions are valuable. Oh, men have emotions too. Just like sports. We don't play football. That's emotions. We don't play for the Saints and the Eagles. That's emotional. They're making us feel like we're a part of the team, a part of the environment. We buy the shirts, the clothes, we argue over it, but we're not there. It's fiction, but it's an emotion. Men understand that you're emotional too, but value emotions versus material things. Understand that even the material things, I make 6 figures. I got a 6-pack, got abs. I'm masculine, all that. Communicate that in emotion to a woman. Talk to the woman of what it can actually do for her. People are selfish.
Okay, but is
But-
that the talk that you still hear now, or is that the talk that you were hearing some time ago?
They're still stuffing 50K down the women's throats. If you
Okay.
talk to a
Well,
woman,
Who's trying to stuff 50K down a woman's throat? And I
It's just an
don't know what you
example.
mean by stuff 50K down her throat. Explain that clearly.
Okay,
so I
is this
understand what you're
is
saying.
this an example I'm using? But it's
Sure.
something to where the men are angry, saying, because it's high value talk. The men aren't even high value, not all of them. The women.
Well, if the
don't
man makes
qualify for the
50K,
men.
we know he doesn't break the threshold of high value from
Right,
the economic standpoint, right?
right. But they're still
Okay.
having these conversations as if I want femininity now. I want this. I'm like, dude, and they're not coming with some soft
So
skills.
let me ask you this.
Look at a woman like
Let
a
me ask
woman.
you this.
Woman
Let me ask you this. Do you believe a woman should be feminine?
should be in reality are two different things.
No,
Yes,
I'm just asking.
yes.
Do you believe a
women,
woman should be feminine?
women
I'm
should
not
be in
asking you
place-
if any
Yes,
particular woman is feminine.
yes,
I'm just asking you as a general rule of thumb.
yes.
Okay. So do you believe a man is worthy of femininity from a woman?
Worthy?
Any man.
He should
Worthy.
be. Yes.
Okay.
Should be.
So
No, not
then
any
what
man,
are
but
your
a man, yes.
disqualifiers? What are your disqualifiers for a man?
Mine?
Hmm
My
What do you think they might be?
Disqualify a man, cheating, bad morals, bad character,
Well,
not productive.
so
Man
cheating
should be disqualified.
should make a woman stop being feminine. Is that right?
She should be feminine to another man who's not cheating.
Well, she would have to leave the present relationship and then find another relationship that she trusts and
Yeah.
then engage in that relationship with that man. Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
But at the end of the day, he shouldn't
Okay.
be out here cheating.
So, but my question is, because when you were starting to speak, you were saying men are trying to force 50,000
That was just an example.
to
But
get femininity from a woman or submission from a woman. So I asked you a general concept. Should a woman be feminine? You said yes.
mhm.
I said, should any man be worthy of having a feminine woman? You said
Not any
yes,
man.
as a
Oh,
concept.
not any man. Any man is
Not
in a
any
regular
man.
man.
Okay.
But
So
any
which
no.
man is disqualifiable from a feminine man?
And this is just my opinion because
Right,
it
of
is what
course.
it
We're
is.
having a conversation.
Non-marriage minded man,
Say
abusive
again?
man, non-marriage minded, unproductive, cheating recklessly, stuff that can damage a household. They shouldn't get femininity because they shouldn't get a woman.
But he had to have been in a relationship to cheat.
Okay.
Okay. So prior to him cheating, should he get femininity from that woman?
Yes.
Okay. So what I'm trying to get at is at what point a man is disqualified from femininity?
It's a trick question.
You said if he cheat,
he just
she
said
shut
it.
off the valve of femininity and submission, right?
No, you shut off the man. Go get somebody who ain't cheating. If you're offering femininity,
Right.
and
Well,
he's
that's
cheating,
basically what it means, right? So
yeah,
she
'cause you're
got to cut
offering
him off.
femininity.
She got to cut him off if he cheats. So now, but you didn't say anything about an income.
Right. You didn't. You only asked me about.
No, I just
other stuff.
asked you what
I said
disqualified.
product-
It was up to you to
oh.
select whatever you wanted to select.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, the woman and the man get to choose what the rules are, not us.
I
on the-
understand that.
They get to
But
pick
when you
what type
came
of man,
on
the man gets
board,
to pick what type of woman, and their rules.
true. But when you
but another-
came
oh,
on
go ahead.
board, the first thing you started to say was these men who are trying to shove $50,000 down a woman's throat to accept that for femininity.
No, what I was referring to is an example of men coming in the manosphere, listening to content, and then
Lee, it's a
getting-
reason why they did that though,
Let
Lee.
him finish what his thought is. Then you
Okay.
can respond.
the thought is just same thing as the women going on to their other content, and they outnumber the manosphere a good 5-1 over there too. The
Well,
dust
let's talk about this
but-
space because we're
okay.
talking about the manosphere. I don't go into women's
Okay,
spaces,
talking
so
about the,
I don't
okay.
know what goes on there.
specifically the manosphere, there's men coming
Right.
over here and listen to the stuff, and they're picking and choosing what they hear. Then they're coming out here angry and the bad energy, no soft skills, no communication, no emotional intelligence, trying to act like they're all of a sudden a high value man and they're demanding all this stuff.
Okay, and
that's
these
what
are
I'm referring to.
content creators or just men on panels?
Men, they're doing this in reality.
In general, yeah.
I've talked to some women. It's like they're sitting across from a table. Dude, tomorrow, rank yourself 1 to 10. Or do you know what? Yes, they're getting that. Or
Okay,
it
well,
works is the MGTOW. That's the
okay,
word.
all right. So, okay, I see what you're saying now. I see what you're saying.
I'm not saying all men. I'm just saying there's a fraction of it.
Well, I don't take it as all men.
Oh, of course.
I-
Okay.
I mean, over here, you don't have to qualify words with all. That's,
Okay.
I would assume that we're more intelligent here to understand that if all is not used,
Mhm.
it's not applied,
Mhm.
right? Okay. If a man listens to red pill content in the black manosphere space or in the
Mhm.
white manosphere space for that
Mhm.
matter,
It's the same.
and then he goes meet a woman and then try to negotiate with the woman femininity, ask her her beauty rating, and
There's some
if you
people
like
that
the
bad,
woman and
yeah.
you approach the woman, her rating is good enough for you because you approached the woman. I
Right.
don't understand that.
I'm just saying it's people. There's
Well,
some
you know,
dudes.
it sounds to me as though that the men are young,
Some of them
because
are in their
only
30s,
a young
40s.
man that has no experience in talking to women would do that.
I wouldn't
You
even
don't
say
even,
that, bro.
I mean,
You gotta kind
even
of just
asking a
be
woman for
emotionally
femininity
unintelligent.
as a conversation, I've never had that conversation with any woman in my life. I've had a lot of women in my life, and I've had several girlfriends, and I've been married, and I've
Mhm.
never once had a conversation about femininity or submission with a woman ever.
Right. Yeah.
Now, it is a conversation in this space because men have been dealing with the fact that they're having relationships with women and they're having problems with the woman fighting or pushing back on
No.
what
Mhm.
they want. Am I
Mhm.
correct in that analysis,
Yeah.
Dr. Panderson?
Yeah.
Okay, so what it may sound like to me is that either the man lack experience with the woman or the man lacks some kind of self-confidence within himself when he interrelates with women.
That's true. And they're coming in fear.
Because I can
and some bad
remember
energy.
when I was a teenager, I got fine girls when I was a teenager and I didn't have a lot of money. Sometimes I work a city job, a summer job that I only work for 6 to 8 weeks to get money for back to school in September so I could buy some of my stuff that my mother couldn't get me. And I still got a girlfriend
Mhm.
and I was a teenager. And when I grew up, I got women. Obviously, I made more money because I had a lifestyle that I grew into. But I mean, for a man to be having a conversation with a woman that he's interested in about submission and femininity, I think that is premature. It's no different than having a conversation about body count. How do
Yeah.
you bring that up?
They're talking about that one too.
Well, I mean, I can see that being discussed in
They're doing it.
spaces. I can see that being discussed in spaces because it's a real thing,
Right.
right? It's a real thing and it has real effects.
Mhm.
But how do you handle that conversation with a woman that you're engaging in the real world? And from what I'm hearing, from what you commented in on, you're saying that you're getting feedback from some women that some men are approaching the dating atmosphere, the dating environment with these conversations. Is that,
Man,
am I correct?
I'm hearing it from dudes. I'm hearing it from women. Women
Yeah.
saying
Same.
another date. Johnny, I won't say no names. They go on a date with Johnny Red Pill, and he starts slamming. He got an anger MGTOW face, and he starts slamming Red Pill content across the dinner table.
Okay, okay.
Or dude saying they talk to a girl, she says one or two things, and it just presses a button, and they flip
Okay,
out.
but
And
why
here
would
comes on the red pill.
Okay, that would make me angry because if you say if he's new to red pill content and he's going through some kind of red pill rage like American Man was citing earlier, the man is in a different headspace.
But you
And that
don't.
space
Mhm,
may take him months
mhm.
or a year to go through the stage.
From what I've
Well,
seen,
oh, go ahead.
it's not even always the new guys that are in this like ragey type of state. It's people that like have come to this space and have decided that this ragey ideal is kind of where they'll sit at in reality. Like
Exactly.
that's what they settle at, and they're like, this is who I am now. Like
Then, right.
that's the issue.
Then they
Well,
come
if a
back and
person wants to
validate it
be
on YouTube.
angry all the time,
Right.
he had that in him before he came here. He just needed a trigger.
Right, but this
Sure.
validates it. Then they go turn MGTOW,
Yeah.
and then they're super angry. They're miserable over there.
Say again?
Then they validate it, inject more content in their veins. Then they turn MGTOW.
Mhm.
That's where you'll talk to a dude and they're talking,
Okay,
"Oh,
but
I'll
if a
never get
man
married."
decides to turn MGTOW, who are you or anyone else to tell him based on whatever experience he may have had with women that he should not turn MGTOW?
Yeah, you can. Just ain't no women over there.
Oh,
So I
okay.
mean,
But that's not a
weird,
bad
bro.
thing. That's
What
not a
you
bad
on?
thing for anyone.
ain't no women
I
Being
out
a,
there.
would say
you
it
know
is.
what?
I would say it is.
Being
The
a
women
MGTOW,
are a net
being
positive
MGTOW
in
is
life.
no
I
different
would say.
than when Paul said in the Bible that if you could be without a woman, I would rather that you be by yourself. But if you will burn, take a woman so you don't burn. So even in the Bible speaks of a man walking away from women. So it's not some unheard of thing. If you study
I mean,
Taoism with
I think it's.
Confucius, they
Uh-huh.
speak of that all the time.
I mean, but God. I mean, you're
Matter
talking
of
about
fact,
what Paul said,
the
but
greatest
God
empire in
said to
China,
go
one
forth and
second,
create.
American man,
So it's like
American man, the greatest empire in Chinese history
nice what
were
Paul said.
led by, who can tell me?
You said what?
I don't know history like that.
Nobody knows? The greatest empire, let me see if somebody in the chat knows. The greatest empire in Chinese history were led by whom? Please don't conflate Christianity and Taoism. I'm not conflating any particular religion. I made a statement from Paul in the Bible, and I'm now making another statement with regard to
I think it's kind of
Chinese
weird to
beliefs.
bring. It's kind of weird to bring up the
No, it's not
Bible.
monks. It's not monks.
I think it's kind of weird to bring up the Bible because God told us to be fruitful in the first place. So it's like, as nice that Paul said that, but I'm gonna go off what God said, and I mean, you can't be fruitful
Well,
without
do you
women.
accept Paul as an apostle?
Yeah, for sure, obviously.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
Jesus
All right.
accepted
So
him, so
when he spoke in the
I
name of
can't
God as
understand.
well.
No, that's
Well,
not the purpose of the
Christ
apostles.
didn't have a girlfriend.
The
Christ
apostles
didn't have a
didn't.
wife.
The apostles didn't speak for God. That's not their purpose.
Are you kidding me? Who did
The
they speak
the
for?
apostles were the followers of Jesus, and that's
No, they
it.
were disciples
They-
when they followed Jesus. They
Yeah.
became apostles after Christ died.
but God didn't speak through the apostles.
Of
That's
course
not
he did. What are you
that-
talking about?
where in the
Oh,
Bible.
anyway, you know what? I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. But maybe you should go and read the first book
Definitely,
of the
definitely
New
have,
Testament. Well,
definitely
not
have read
the
all of
first
the Bible
chapter,
multiple
but the second
times.
chapter.
Yeah, one other thing. I think that and I'm not just saying red pill is bad or the whole manosphere. I'm saying that because there's actually a lot of valuable content and conversations are being had that needed to be had. There's a lot of good content. But another thing that I see is a lot of people in the manosphere always are trying to put stuff in boxes. If you make this much, if the woman does this, you have to approach her this way. And by 3 months, you have to be here, 6 months here. They're trying to force
Well,
like
I've
an
never
extra
heard
box.
anyone lay out timelines for men with women. If it's anything, it's the opposite. It's women who lay out timeline as to when they will allow a man to become sexual with them. That's a woman's domain.
I'm exaggerating just to express the point. Or being like, by the third
but when
date,
you do that, you put it out into the air and you make it sound as that's what's being said, and
No,
you're
I'm just exaggerating people so people can get the point. Or the woman needs to be doing this by this. She has to do. If you do this,
the
you're a simp.
manosphere.
The
Manosphere space don't only talk about women; they talk about finance, they talk about law, they talk about what's that?
I think it would be remiss to say
Maternity.
that
They
that's
talk
the
about
most of their
DNA.
content.
They talk about many things.
I would say
This
that
space is to educate men as to how to best traverse society, both on the male side and if you're going to interact with women, how best to do that and have the best life that you can. Whether you get married or you just be in a monogamous relationship with one, or if you choose to have more than one woman.
Yeah. But I would say it's kind of misleading to say that women aren't kind of the focus of the manosphere, because there are manosphere content creators that will speak like only about women, but there aren't really that many manosphere content creators that speak only about men and like how men need to grow, and the ones that do oftentimes transition into starting to speak about women because they realize that those are the videos that get the most traction. So I would like to.
The reason why you don't find a lot of channels that speak about men specifically is because they're not profitable. They're not profitable. Most Black people like drama. Drama sells. So when you talk about Black women and then Black women come up on the panel or in the chat and they're going back and forth, that excites, that draws attention.
I wasn't going to talk about that.
You get more super chats and different things. So there are men that focus on that because they just want to profit off of dysfunction. So, but as a young man, you have to be able to determine what content creator you're watching and what benefit you're going to get from it. If you watch a content creator for 2-3 months, you have to
I don't
be
think
able
it's
to
only young men
whether
that
it's
aren't able to do that, though. I think I see a lot of grown like 40, 30, 50-year-old men that are stuck in this position of like having disdain for women because
right, but you can't concern yourself with other men.
Make a woman feminine.
No,
you can't concern yourself with other men's behavior.
No,
you're a man.
Yeah, we're just saying that this is something that happened.
Say again?
All right, me and I think an American man, we're saying this isn't us. When I click off YouTube, I'm good. But we're just saying that this exists and it's something that does
right. It exists, but if
it's
you
kind of a
patronize
pandemic
it,
in this space.
If you patronize it, if you visit those channels and you patronize it, you're part of the problem.
Well, I'm just a troll. I come in and crack jokes.
Right. As a troll, you still are part of the problem because you feed the insanity. So you can't then say you feed the insanity and then on the next hand, you go on another panel and you talk bad about the channel that you contribute to sustaining itself. Or those who speak what you say is problematic. Both Mr. American Man, and Dr. Panderson.
No, we just had conversations with
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
No, what I said is, what I'm saying is that if you say you're a troll, Mr. Panderson,
okay, I was gonna say,
and you American Man,
I'm just being honest.
If you say
about these,
let me finish.
I'm not trolling.
Hear me out, and then you can respond. And then you frequent those channels, yet you say
I don't.
The content is content that I don't like, but then you patronize the channel. Then how can you now come and say here on this channel about those channels being problematic?
I mean,
you feed the beast.
Yeah, that would be stupid if that's what I did, but I don't. But no, I understand that.
That's not what I'm saying.
If I was a patron of them and then came and like complained about them, that would be like idiotic. But
no,
I agree.
As a part of the conversation, there'll be agreements, there'll be disagreements, there'll be conflict, there'll be positive, there'll be listening, and there'll be talking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of it is good, some of it is bad, some of it is all of that. Some of it is clowning. Like I come and I clown a good 30-40% of the time. I'm straight clowning. It's entertainment. It's a conversation, just like in the real world. You sit across the table eating a steak, and somebody got a tight shirt on and.
But then at the same time, you can't say it's a problem.
No, I'm just saying a problem.
Because you're feeding that part of the
whole
beast.
channel is a problem. I'm just saying I'm not saying everything is a problem and needs to be burned. I'm just saying these are some problems that's being seen. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying 80% of the manosphere is a dustathon. I'm not saying that.
That's the way it came across.
Oh no. There are people who
Okay.
are winning. There are people who are handling business. There are some certified dusties. There are some trolls. There's some good-looking
Okay.
people.
All right.
That's
Okay.
just what
Well,
it is.
80% is good. I get
But
it.
and the
80%
good
is
thing
good.
is
I mean,
those
you
who
know,
dust get to have a conversation with some people who aren't dusting. Therefore, a conversation is at least had that may not be had out there in the real world or whatever, because people feel how they feel. So that's the good
I
thing about
think
the affair.
I think whether a man is 45 years old or 25 years old, when he come to the realization of red pill and the behavior of women because in the way in which he was brought up, awareness is awareness. Once you come to the awareness, it's going to take you
Mhm.
through several stages until you come out of each stage. Some stages are longer than others, some stages are shorter than others. To the degree that a person may be in a rage for whatever, how you classify it,
Mhm.
they're going through the process. And some men, when they're going through rage, they don't even deal with women because they find the women, they're angry at women, so they don't want to deal with women. So I'm confused when a man could be in rage and at the same time dating. That don't make sense.
I mean, it happens all the
Hey,
time.
people are who they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you not heard about this? I mean, are you really?
Well, you know what? I only remotely tap into this space. I I restrict what I watch, meaning
Mm,
that foolishness I just don't entertain.
mm,
I don't find it entertaining. I
for
have
sure.
way too many things to do
I agree.
as a person. So I don't engage in that level of entertainment because
Right.
even when I was young, it wasn't never entertaining for me. Like I grew up in the hood, so I know hood behavior. I'm not going
Right.
to come online and sit down for an hour or 2 hours engaging in hood behavior that I can see live in the street. I'm like, I'm not going to do that.
Mhm.
Some people find that entertaining. I'm not one.
Yeah.
So,
But I'm just
with
saying, like
regards
in
to your
pop
question, no, I don't
culture, or
see
like
it.
interacting with women, like you don't hear about like this. You don't hear like the gripes about like men being like un unbecomingly straightforward with like these talking points. You don't hear about that?
I haven't seen that on a show where a man was getting to know a woman and he was kind of like giving her, what do you call that?
Mm,
The 10th degree of walking
mm,
through her all these steps to kind of find out who she is in that
mm,
way. I
mhm,
think you get to know a person by hanging out,
for sure.
making conversation. If you drink or you eat, you do both, and or you go out and you do something active
Right.
and you talk and get familiar with each other and you
Yeah.
go out on a second date need be. If
Right.
you're into it just to have sex with the woman, then there are ways you can make moves to do that.
Mhm.
And if the woman finds you attractive enough or you say the right things, she'll walk off with you.
Mm. I think some men
I've done
kind of
both, so
forget
it's not an
that
issue.
part about saying the right things. I think some men kind of get stuck in like, well, this is what's right, and I mean, do I not deserve it because I'm a man and you're a woman? Like, I think some men, um, like we talk
I
about
don't know
all.
of any man that speak to a woman that way.
I
We heard
And I
know
haven't
plenty.
and
we
I
heard that
and
2
that's
days
because
ago.
you know
know,
what? That's
I know
because you're
plenty.
in a very
Well,
young group
it's
of
right.
men
It's probably because I'm
that have
younger.
very little or
No,
no experience with
well,
women.
no, that's not the reason. I would say it's probably because I'm younger and I talk to the women, and like the women are like 40-year-old
So
women,
the
30-year-old
women are telling
women.
you that.
Yeah, like that's how guys are coming. Like guys out this space, what like certain men they'll interact with. That's how they come. Is like,
So I'm
whoa,
gonna ask you a
why?
question. Don't get it.
What do you bring to the table? And
I'm
they'll
gonna
like
ask you a
ask
question.
that question, and you're like,
American
that's
man,
crazy.
I'm gonna ask you a question. Don't get offended.
For
Okay.
sure.
Are you in the friend zone with a lot of these women that you talk with?
Nah, I don't. Nah, I'm just
Because the
talking
only
about
way a
like.
woman will talk to a man like that is if she see him like a girlfriend.
No, that's not true. I wouldn't say that. Like
But
women
those are the
that,
type of things that women reveal to
uh,
women, not to men.
I mean, that's the type of thing people talk about in general. I wouldn't say it's like a
I mean,
woman,
that's
man,
I'm
man,
just
woman,
going by
woman,
what you're
woman thing.
saying to me,
Hmm.
and I know I've had
Well, I
many
mean,
experience with women,
when you know
and I know
people,
women that
right?
I have as friends.
what
and
I'm
I
saying
know
is
what
like
my friend
when
female tell me
you know
versus women I'm in relationship with
yeah,
or
for sure.
sexually
Like,
related with,
yeah,
what
for
they
sure,
tell you, and
for
it's
sure.
different.
What I'm saying is like when you know people, right? Inevitably, you'll usually talk about like their dating experience and such. So that's what I'm saying. Like the women that I do know, and I'm not trying to fuck every woman that I know. So like women that I
Of
do
course not.
know, right? So of course, obviously, so the women that I do know are saying these things. That's what, like when we talk, whenever we do talk about their dating experience or like they're like complain about certain shit because women like to complain, they complain about things like that. Like that's what they talk about. You know, like
Okay.
women
All
that
right.
I
Well,
know in life. You know.
okay. One
Like,
second.
and these are like 30-year-old women, 40-year-old women who are dating like 30, 40-year-old
You have
men.
40-year-old female friends?
I mean, that I talk like work, like my work
You
environment,
have
my
40-year-old female friends.
if you would let me respond, like
Okay, go ahead, go ahead.
like my work
Come on,
environment,
man.
family. I mean, yeah, like I have 40-year-old male friends. I have 40-year-old female friends. Yes, you know, I mean, yeah, people that I know. Yeah. And that's
Okay.
what they're saying. Their experience is like some men, not every man. Like that their stories are basically either dudes like either man is like a suave dude, like you know he actually knows what the fuck is going on, or what the frick is going on. He actually knows what like how to talk to women, or like he's like a simp, or he's one of like these like red pill dudes that are like that don't understand how to talk to women, and he's coming around talking about what they bring to the table and you know certain things like that.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. Hold on one second. Definite G, one second. The Clue Channel, Mr. Lee, what's wrong with older women? Y'all dudes are cynical. I didn't say anything was wrong with
Huh?
an older woman. I was just
He was surprised that I
curious
have
how a
older women
24-year-old
friends
man have a 40-year-old woman
as a
coming
friend.
to
Yeah.
him, talking to him about another man having red pill rage. That was my question
He's
with him.
surprised that
All
I
right.
have like
I didn't
40-year-old
say
women
anything about
friends.
the 40-year-old women. I don't have anything against them,
He's
one
surprised
way
I
or the
know
other.
people.
Okay, Definite G, welcome to the conversation. How are you, sir?
What's going on?
Put the cap on this conversation. Let me hear what you got to say.
Hey, I actually got to roll out. I just realized what time it is. Y'all have a good day.
Okay.
In the
What
chat,
time is it?
it's whatever, man.
Yeah, I gotta go
It's
too.
whatever chat.
Peace out, y'all. Peace
All right.
out.
Appreciate
Good
it.
conversation.
First off, how are you, Mr. Lee?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing all right, doing good. Yeah, that was a interesting conversation you guys had. It was a bit humorous, but very interesting. But just talking, just going on the main topic. Yeah, I kind of saw. I'm not calling myself a prophet or anything, but I kind of saw how the manosphere was going to end up because, especially when the infighting started with a lot of other content creators, like I don't like this one because they said this, or you're doxing me, or you sent your trolls to my channel and stuff like that. I kind of saw it, coming to a head like that. Uh, in my perspective, in my opinion, the manosphere lacks substance. And what I mean by that, it's like, yes, understanding women is very important for men because we're not born knowing how to deal with women. We have to start from ground zero and then figure it out and go through
But
trial and error
likewise,
and just, Mhm.
women don't know how to deal with men either. So,
Yeah, but they
nobody's
have
born knowing that. You learn that through upbringing.
yes, but it's
Okay. Go ahead.
women have a more easier time. All they have to do is use their sexuality. They can get a lot out from men, but men, we have to like if we do things a certain way, we won't get a certain outcome. So that's where I'm coming from that. So
Okay.
and I had a big gripe. Yeah, I had a big gripe with the manosphere when they're talking about purpose because they're actually using it wrong. They're saying like, oh, be on your purpose, be on your purpose. They don't really understand what that really means because they're actually, again, they're using it wrong. Oh, what is
Well,
it?
okay. Who? Not to point the finger at any one particular content creator, but
Yeah.
give me an idea when you say they're saying it wrong. Meaning, give me like a definition to what you interpret them to be saying,
Hmm.
so I can understand what you mean by that.
Gotcha. So what purpose means is that if I could have the if I had the definition of it, but like if I'm gonna use an example, like what is the purpose of a fork? Like what's the purpose of a fork?
No, let's no, come on. A fork is a tool. It doesn't have a choice in what it
Well,
is. Let's talk from a man's
yeah, but
perspective
there's a purpose.
and the understanding of being on your purpose as a man, because you clearly said that whoever is making that statement
Hmm.
as content creators, they don't know what it means and they're using it wrong. That was a clear statement. So let's not use a
Yes.
fork, which is
And
an inanimate object that can't make a decision one way or the other. Tell me
I
what
was
your
using mhm.
interpretation of what they said or he or she have said to give you the understanding to make you believe it's their interpretation is wrong, and then tell me what you know it to mean.
Well, I was using the fork as an example because the purpose of a fork is to use it for food. The purpose of a spoon is to scoop the food to make it easier. The purpose of a car is to for transportation. So what purpose actually means is what you're made for, what you're made of. So that's why I was using the fork, and that's why I was using
No.
those examples.
Well, all men are not made for the same purpose. All forks are made for the
Exactly.
same purpose. So
Exactly.
then, so then what do you mean when you say when they, whoever they may be, content creators, when they
Hmm.
say be on your purpose, they don't know what they mean by what they say. You still have,
They're
because
more.
if you
Mhm.
said that a fork is on its purpose because it's made to do X, a, a spoon is on its purpose because it's made to do Y.
Mhm.
You haven't translated that into a man and how that correlates. Do that.
Gotcha. So it's all about again introspection. Like what makes him him? What makes him be the man? What makes him wake up in the morning and do the things that he does? What is his like real passions in his life that he wants to achieve and his goals that he wants to accomplish? That's the reason
Are
why I
you
was,
making the
trying to
allegorical
get at.
reference between? Are you making the allegorical reference between the fork and the man that you're giving me,
Yes,
or are you giving
allegory.
me
Yeah.
the true definition? Which one are you giving me?
It's allegory and both. If I had the real definition right in front of me, which I don't, but it's
No, but just give
that's
me your
the actual
understanding. That's fine.
gotcha. So yeah, that's the understanding of purpose is what you're made for. That's the purpose. Like men were
No,
made to
no,
man.
it's not what you're made for. Your purpose is what you decided to be, because we are living beings and we could choose things.
And
A
yes,
person could
and
be
you
doing a
come.
job for
Mhm.
25 years, but that's not their purpose. And 25 years later, they identify their true passion and purpose, and then they get on that and they excel at that.
Exactly, and that's why I let in that it's introspection. That man has to look. What really makes him really wake up and accomplish his goals in his
But
life.
you didn't
It's not
explain to me why the men who tell other men to get on their purpose, why they are wrong for what they say. That's the part that I have the gripe with, because you clearly
gotcha.
said that those men are wrong.
Hmm. So it's mostly they're focusing on more the career aspect, which yes, can your purpose be your career? Yes, but it's not always the case. It's more
What
about
other case would it
what do
what other case would it be?
it would be more of his like what he really wants to fulfill in his life. That's what it
Such
is.
as, give me an
So
example. Pick something out of the air as a man, this fictitious man might decide to do, hypothetically speaking. I just want to follow your thought because you say it's not career. So
Mhm.
give me something else that would be a substitute.
Yeah, it can be his career. His career
No,
can supplement his
you said that
purpose.
when men speak about that, they only
Yes,
speak about the career.
I'm
So
leading.
give me something
Yes, I'm
else.
leading into it.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, I'm leading into it.
Okay, I'm listening.
Come
I'm
on.
listening. I'm listening.
I'm like, yeah, I'm leading
Go ahead.
into
I'm
it.
listening.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm just, you
listening. Go
gotta,
ahead. I'm
be a little
listening.
bit patient.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
No, it's good. It's all good. But like, can it be his career? Yes, but can it also facilitate his purpose? Yes. So can it be, let's say he likes caretaking. Let's say he wants to focus on children. He can make that
A
into a
man?
career, or he
You're
can,
saying a man?
yes, if he wants to focus on building the children up, to gain them, to build the boys up
What
to be
children? Whose
men.
children? Other people's children?
If that's what he wants to do, if
Okay,
that's
so
what
that
he
would be
wants
a
to do,
teacher.
if
That
that's
would
what
be a
his,
teacher.
a teacher,
That would be a
yes.
teacher. But
That's,
that's a career.
be a
A
teacher.
teacher is a career.
It can be a career. Come on, Lee, I'm trying to,
No,
you
because
step it in
if
when I'm trying
either
to
the
flush
man
it
is going
out.
to focus on his own children or he's going to focus on other people's children. And if he's focusing
It
on
could,
other people's children, he usually would do that in a professional environment. That would be a teacher or an educator, whether it's at pre-K
Mhm.
to 12th grade or university. Yes?
Yes, that could be.
Okay.
That
So
could
that's
be.
still a
Yes,
career. Give me something
he
that
could.
is not a career. See, you guys like to come and bash other content creators, and then you don't have the response
I'm
for
not
what you're
bashing
talking
any
about.
content creators. I'm not bashing
Yes,
any of
you
them.
said
It's just that,
content
no, I'm not.
creators are
No, I'm
telling
not.
brothers
No, I am not.
to, you said all they do is tell
Mr.
brothers
Lee,
to
I
get
am
on
not
their,
bashing them. It's just they're off in their understanding. That's all it is.
okay, but you still
Listen,
haven't given me,
I'm not saying.
you haven't given me
Okay,
your
okay.
understanding. That's what I'm trying to get at. Give me your understanding because it's different. That's what I'm trying to have you give me so I can understand what you mean.
I'm
But you have
doing
yet to
that,
give
but
me
you
yours.
cut me off. I'm
Okay, go
trying to
ahead.
do that, and you're cutting me
Okay, go
off.
ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Your purpose can't. Okay. Your purpose is the reason why. It's the reason that fulfills you as a man. It could be helping people. It could be building and construction. Can it be a career? Yes, but it's not the sole
Building and,
thing. It's not the,
construction is a career. You do know that, right?
yes, I know that.
Okay.
But you don't
So, but
always have to
what I'm
make, it
saying is
doesn't
that
always have to be monetary.
everything that you're citing goes back to a career. You haven't cited anything that is not career related for
Okay.
a man to do.
Philanthropy.
As a
Philanthropy. You can actually you
philanthropy.
could do, yeah,
Can a broke
philanthropy.
person be a philanthropist?
Not yet.
Can a broke person be a philanthropist?
He can build himself up to be a philanthropist.
How does he
But
do that?
a
No, I'm
broke
asking,
person at
how
his
does a
current
broke
state,
person
no.
become a philanthropist?
A broke person at that current state, no, he can't.
No,
But he
no
can
broke
build himself
person
up.
can become a philanthropist. So when you're focusing on your purpose, you have to make yourself enough money where you can sit back and give away money. That's what philanthropists do. They give away money to good causes. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. But how do you get from no money to philanthropist? You're here, right? No money, philanthropist. How do you get there? The distance between there is money, and it's going to be
Money,
some
yes.
kind of career or business. So when brothers say focus on
And
your purpose, what they're saying is find what it is that you either enjoy doing or what you can do good or a skill that you could develop or a trade that can help you advance and build yourself up economically to the point where survival is not a day-to-day experience where you have
And
more than you need to survive.
that's what I was trying to get at. That's right there.
But
I
you
was
can
trying to
only
get
do
at
that by
that.
a career.
You
You can
yes,
only
you
get
have
there
to
by a
build your
career.
I did not negate the career. I did not
Yes,
say
you
you
did.
are just going to be.
Yes, you
I did
did.
not. No, I did
Yes.
not.
You
I
know
did not say.
why?
I
You
said it
used the
can
word
be a career.
only. No, you said only.
I oh my god. Okay, yeah.
Go back and
I
watch
never
the
said.
screen. When
I
you
never,
first came up, you changed it later because you included "and," but there is no "and." It's your career that takes you to become successful. And then from that point, if you want to be a philanthropist or anything else, you then have enough disposable cash to do things that may inspire you or make you feel greater than as a human. But you can't get to that point where you are a philanthropist, where you're doing kind deeds out of the goodness of your heart, if you still have to pay the rent, if you still have to buy food, pay the bills, if those things are still your concern, being a philanthropist is a joke. It's an idealistic imagination that will never happen. You must first build yourself enough so you have enough disposable income so you can do the kind things out of your heart that you want to be able to do. That's reality. So when brothers say focus on your purpose,
I get it.
that's how
Hmm.
that's how you get to be able to get to being a philanthropist. If your philanthropy is a purpose, you must make these steps come true first. If you believe that. There is no getting around it. Your career is what build you to success for you to be able to catapult into anything else that you might want to do. And men who don't understand that are broke. And they're broke for a long time. And then they complain about the women that don't want to give them nothing or don't want to
No,
submit
I
to them.
understand.
Women
And I completely
women
understand
when
what
they
you're
deal with
talking
men
about.
like
And I
that,
never said. I
they
never
never
negated
get
the
the
career. I
satisfaction out
said.
of the men.
I never
Go ahead.
negated the career. I said that it's going to supplement what you really want to
Hey,
do.
hold
You can
on.
have a
Hey,
career to
hold on,
supplement what you really
hold
want to
on.
do in your life. That's all it is.
Hey, who's that with that banging?
Oh,
Oh, that's
it's
you?
construction in the back. No, it's
Oh,
construction in
okay.
the back. My
Okay.
bad.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Okay. All right. Mute up for a minute. Let me bring up Alonzo. Hey Alonzo, good afternoon. You're muted. You're still muted, Alonzo.
How we doing,
Yeah.
gentlemen? How are you?
Okay, very good. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you for letting me know I was muted. I was going a mile a minute there. Um, I just wanted to say thank you for having this space, allowing us to come up. I think, if I may, kind of piggyback off of what Definite G was speaking about when he was mentioning purpose. It does need to be in the realm of economics, Definite G, because for a man, in order for us to do anything, you have to include economics. Now, what you were saying is, I think the purpose thing, and you're saying a lot of these guys are coming from the stance where it needs to be economic, yet they're in a position like Mr. Lee was saying, well, they're broke, and that's why they're complaining. Well, these women won't submit because I make an income, and I'm 45, and I'm a man, so you should have my burgers cooked every time I step in the house. And so, unfortunately, we have to look at things relative to what they are, right? In 1993, my grandmother came home from working, overtime and everything, and her check was 400 some odd dollars. Now, in 1993, 30 years ago, that was some decent money, right? But
How much?
in $436
A week?
a week, yes.
No,
Now,
that wasn't.
well, for her,
I
for
beg to
working
differ
a
with
lot.
you.
No,
I
I
mean, you said
understand.
your grandmother, so if she was already in her 50s or across her 50s, she probably wasn't working a full-time job. But anyone
Right.
making $450 a week in 1990, you ain't making no money. That's $1,200, $1,600 a month. plus, the pennies that falls over. And if you get taxed, if you're single and you have no dependents, you get taxed. Back then, the tax rate was 38%.
Mhm.
And you could show on your W-4, you can take 2 or 3 deductions so you can get as much cash as you can. But if you overtake deductions, which you are in New York, you have up to 15 deductions you can take, then you would wind up owing tax at the end of the year. And if you make that little amount of money, you definitely don't want to be in a position to be owing tax, because then you would definitely, the IRS will wait to get to about 5 years behind. They add on their penalties and their fees, and then they'll start sending you letters.
Mhm.
And then you owe them
Indeed.
like 10 grand. And that's where they like to
Indeed.
get you. That's the threshold. But no, I mean, we have to be realistic, man. When I came into this space and I heard, because I didn't look at the numbers, and I heard 42 or 41,000, or let's say 45,000 is a round number, is the average black man's income, it threw me off. It threw me off because I made that kind of money in the 80s and I was a young man, 25. I made that kind of money in the 80s. Now I was fortunate because of the industries I joined and I had the skills to work in, but I can't look back 40 years from where I started my career and now 40 years into the future, and black men are still only making 40 as an average. I mean, to me, that seemed like you're not pushing yourself. You're not trying to become anything. I remember when I was young, some of my friends say, yo, Lee, just go join the post office, join the, sanitation, do your 20, 25 and retire. Become a correction officer. I got all these type of lame ass, just put in enough, punch the time card. But I knew I wasn't that kind of man. I wanted to make as much money as I can because I saw a worth in myself that was greater than just a check and some stupid motherfucker telling me what to do, and I was smarter than him anyway. So I
And
never
that's what I'm
did that.
trying to. Mhm.
But when someone say get on your purpose, they ain't telling you what job to do. They're saying
No.
find your purpose and do it. Nobody's telling
Yeah.
you what job to do. They're saying find your purpose and then do it.
So I think,
But it's
Mr.
still
Lee,
a job.
And I want
Go
to,
ahead.
yeah, I want to clear up because like it just seems as though there's a bit of confusion of what I'm trying to convey. I'm not negating the monetary aspect, obviously, the economics. Yes, men, get your. Can you guys hear me?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not negating the monetary aspect of, men getting their shit together. I'm not saying anything, I'm not negating that. I'm saying that your purpose might not be within your career or within your, current situation. It could be you can use your career, the money that you're building up, the money that you're gaining, to parlay that into other things that you really want to do in your life. That's what I was trying to convey. I'm not saying that broke dudes can like just be just broke and that's good. I'm never saying that.
If I
I'm
can,
saying
definitely.
you can use that to parlay that to other things in your life that you really want to do, the things that you're really motivated about. That's what I'm trying to convey.
Not
If
a
I
problem. Go ahead. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Alonzo.
if I may, definitely, G, I think, like what you're saying is, and here's where I think a lot of the issue falls. Like you said, Mr. Lee, 40,000 seems to be still the average income. Brookings Institute actually has it at 34,000 and some change. But regardless, it's still it's not building toward anything. So it seems like everybody's been pushed toward the minimum. But I think what Definite G is saying is a lot of these guys are saying it's just career, career, career. I've built myself up to 6 figures, and then just because I've built myself to 6 figures, the woman should still fall in line, as opposed to I have some culture about myself, right? For example, we use things like rappers. Rappers are obviously over 6 figures, but if they might say, hey, here's a Richard Mille watch, and I know about a Patek Philippe because it's an expensive watch. But if you ask them, hey, do you also own a Mont Blanc? They'll be like, what the heck is that? So it's a culture thing, right? So,
Yeah. So
no, go
mhm.
ahead.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's like there's more to a man than just, just that one aspect of money. Yes, he's efficient. He gets the job
But you
done. He
know,
makes sure that he accomplishes his goals. At the same time, there's more of a
I
rounded
think
aspect to this man that is
I
actually the
think
most
I think
attractive
what
that
you
women are drawn to.
I think what you're missing is that if you don't start the race, how can you finish? And for you to
Yeah.
begin the race, you got to get your income up.
Yeah. That's
That's
that's what
that's
I'm saying. Yeah.
that's the bottom line. If you
Yeah.
don't get your income up, whatever passion you may have is never going to fulfill itself.
Exactly.
And
Yes. And I
when
have
you first came
no
in,
disagreement on that one.
what you said was that these content creators are constantly telling men to get on their purpose. And then you started to define what their purpose may be. The thing is what, let's say, get on your purpose, they're saying find a career that jives with you and then step on that. Make yourself a professional and expert. It takes at least about 10 years to become an expert in a field. Whether you're a plumber, HSBC, electrical, financial service, banking, mortgage broker, you name it, it takes about 10 years for you to become an expert where you know it inside out. And you need, the earlier you get, if you're at 24 and you get on your game now at 34, you're at the level where you could be scaled up to become manager, director, if you're going to stay with the firm, or you could go independent and become a consultant. So, but you need to have skills. And then you will spend another 10, 15 years building upon the skills that you know, perfecting it and monetizing it. And then by the time you're 45, then you can start really living your life to the degree where you can do philanthropic work, where you have extra disposable money, where you have made successful investments, where you own 3, 4, 5 properties. A couple of them may be commercial, some may be multifamily, whatever. But it takes the beginning to get you there. And you're trying to talk, you're talking the talk like what you can do when you already arrived. But if he never
N-
start, how is he going to arrive? How is he going to
No,
have another
I never.
purpose? How is he going to have another purpose to fulfill if he never managed to accomplish the main thing he has to do? Get himself out of the rat race where he's no longer in the count with everybody else, where
Yeah.
survival is no longer his consideration. Go back and watch the screen from where you first came up, and you'll see what you were saying and what I was challenging. But let me bring up the OG because he's been very patient. Hi, Jay. Good afternoon. How are you, brother?
Good afternoon, Mr. Lee, and distinguished panel you have here today. I hope y'all can hear me loud and clear.
Yeah, we can hear you.
um, um, I know the last panel, me and you was on together. It was a beautiful panel, and I think your words was taken very seriously. Some of the things you brought to that show that night. So I totally respect you, and I told you that night, Mr. Lee, that I totally respect you for what you're doing in the community. But I want to assist the young G. Maybe he will understand how I come in as far as purpose. Martin Luther King had a purpose given to him by his father to preach in the church. But that wasn't Martin Luther King's purpose. He could have made all the finances he needed by just being in Atlanta, preaching in his father's church, and he could have had a nice salary. But his purpose was much bigger than that. His purpose was to change humanity. And one thing I do believe, if you're on your true purpose of life, this universe will support you. This planet will support you. People will support you. And all the finances and the wealth that you need for the rest of your life. There have been so many who have failed by the wayside. And now a lot of that has to do with management of money, not knowing that purpose of getting a CPA, whatever y'all call them today, financial advisor, to handle their money situation. As me, myself, my purpose was to come to California and be a comedian. But then I found myself in the movie industry, jumped over what most comedians do, got into that. Then I found that my true purpose was to help people with their health. And so that's what I'm going to do probably for the rest of my life. So I think both of you are right in the way that you are speaking in it. And I think when you came in, young man, maybe we might have misunderstood what you was trying to get to your point. But I think what I just said might be exactly where you was trying to get to, where your true purpose is given to you're the design by the creator, regardless of what you might want to do in life. Now you might think that might be what you want, but your true purpose in life is a design that you'll never be able to get away from it, regardless if you pursue it or not. And Mr. Lee, I think we had 3.0 as far as the manosphere, and not at 2.2. I think that was a great separation about 3 years ago. 3.0 came in. And so I just wanted to lay that as a foundation because I'll probably not make as much money as none of y'all brothers on this panel and some of the people in the chat room. But my heart is at peace because I know my true purpose in life. And so finance is not one of them. But I wouldn't tell a young man to do that because it took me all these years to get 62 years old to understand that. Go out there and make as much finance as you can so you can sit back one day and say, you know what? Now I can go do exactly what my heart is putting me in the direction to do.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
that's a,
Mr. O.
that's a time
Yeah,
that's a time difference. That's a time difference.
Yes, sir.
What he's talking about is because for the past 40 years, he's been on a different mission that now, where he is now, his life has gone into a new transition. So his whole outlook on life is totally different from a man that's 22, 23, 24.
Yes, sir.
See, the thing is, if your father was wealthy, or if your father had a business, or if your father had enough money and you were living at home and he got your back and you didn't have to work, then you could be a playboy, you could be you could be whatever. You could go. I've met people who go to foreign countries. When I was in Africa, there were young white students who graduated the university with master's degree, and they spent the next 3 years just doing Peace Corps work. But they have a cushion that is financing them to allow them to do that. As Black people, we don't have that cushion to let us go on this journey to find ourselves.
Yes, sir.
We have to deal with providing for ourselves and dealing with all the dynamics that the financial world in which we live in, especially in America. I was looking at some data just yesterday with regarding to several states and the cost of an average 1-bedroom. I was looking at coming back to New York, and I was looking at a 1-bedroom. My last apartment I had there was $2,250. Now it's $4,650 something, and that's at the Ashley on what was that, 86th Street or somewhere on 80 something street off of Amsterdam Avenue, because I wanted to move further south. But
Yes,
that's
sir.
the average apartment cost.
Yeah.
So
the average
I mean,
house.
for you to if you make 10 grand a month, if you have a tax rate, I mean, I don't know what I mean, for business, the tax rate is as low as 21% from what
You're about 33% at
but
10
you're
grand
going
a
to be
month.
around 33%. So if you
Yes,
get
sir.
taxed at 33%, you're going to bring home what 6,700?
Exactly.
If your apartment is $4 grand, you got 2,500 to last you the next 2 weeks. That means food is going to eat up all of that. Light, gas, transportation. You ain't got no money to hang out. Even 100 grand is not enough to live in New York. You got to be making at least 250. At
Right.
least
And
250.
Cali, same way, Mr. Lee. Cali is the same way where
Yeah.
I'm at now,
I
and
mean, I
that's
lived
why I
in
That was
Cali
say,
for a
more
few years
expensive than
too.
New
yeah,
York.
yeah, yeah. That's why I say it's a balance. I think that's what we really missed. The young man saying that the finances, you're gonna have to pursue that because nobody get to walk around like Jesus Christ and just eat from one person's
Thank
home to the
you.
next one. So
Thank you.
there's no more Jesus Christs on this earth. So so we gonna
Yeah.
have to have some finances, and that's where the balance come in. And you could be shopping your tools as far as your purpose while you are getting yourself financial stable. And so that's what I would instill into young men's versus me when I first started off. It's not them times anymore. You go have to have finances because everybody has a story and nobody wants to hear about your sorry ass story because you ain't making
Thank-
it. So you go be have to be you have to go out there and make some Benjamins. And I do understand. And that's why I do respect Anton. A lot of things we disagree on about it, but one thing I do agree with him 100%. You got to have your finances in check before you even for yourself, because you know what? Before you ever come into spaces of other person or woman or anybody else, you got to do that mirror check. And how you feel about yourself when you do get ready to approach someone else, it goes to have a definite define how you go come off. You know what I mean? When I write jokes, if I don't feel like they are funny, then ain't nobody else gonna feel like they're funny. So you got to have that motivation and that idea who you are before you go out there and try to pursue these things as far as your purpose. But that takes time. It don't. No leader is born. He learns, and he learns
Yeah.
by being a good follower.
And what you said in the beginning, OG, you said it perfectly. Like my point that I was trying to convey to Mr. Lee, you said it perfectly. Like, yeah, you found your true purpose. I was not negate. And I want to say this again because it seems as though this keeps getting missed. I am not negating the financial aspect. I am not saying broke dudes, you just go off and just find your purpose. Yeah, no, pay your freaking rent, pay your bills. I am not negate. Oh my God.
No, I
I'm
heard
not
you, but the way
negating
you
that
came in, the
at
way you came in,
all. I'm
the way
saying,
you came,
yes,
my brother,
you,
the way you
yeah,
came in, I'm telling you how they got conflicted. Wait a minute, I'm telling you how they got conflicted.
yeah.
They got
Okay, yeah,
conflicted because when you came in, you was talking about content creators, what they're talking about, and they just don't understand. Boom, and then when you did that, and by the time you got around to making yourself to explain what you were trying to say, you had
yeah,
thrown everybody out of the boat. So you got to understand,
yeah,
you set that
yeah.
situation up. Nobody else did. You set it up.
All right,
So
okay,
I'm
no, no, no.
glad you
Then
came back.
I'll take that L. Then I misspoke. Okay, I
Yes,
probably
sir.
should have
Yes,
came
sir.
in a little bit
But
different.
my
Okay,
G,
I'll
Well,
humble myself. I came in
one
a
of the
little bit too
things, one
hot.
Mr.
second,
Lee,
Elijah.
Mhm.
1 second.
Mr. Lee,
Hold on.
Mr.
Don't
Lee, you
leave yet,
came in.
OG.
Okay.
1 second. Don't leave yet. Because this point I want to reference to you. See, one of
Yes,
the
sir.
things that the content creators are not saying, they're not saying to OG or myself when we are in their chat or whatnot, they're not telling us to go find our purpose, to get on our grind, because we should have been on our grind 40 years ago.
Mhm.
What they're telling you guys that are in your 20s or in your early 20s, you need to be on your grind. So when you get to his age and to my age, you can do whatever the hell you want.
Hmm.
But you're trying to put the cart before the horse. And I was just trying to have
I
you break
was
that
not.
down more
I
clearly
was.
so
Definitely.
you
I
can see
wasn't
what you were
saying
saying.
that. I wasn't putting
Def,
the cart before the, because I was trying to I was trying to get that
You
definition
should go
out
back and
first,
look
but
at
I
the
wasn't
stream when you
saying.
first came on and what you
I
said,
was not
because you'll
saying put
see
the
that
cart before the
what you
hearse. I'm
said
saying like
was
there's a deeper
conflicting
understanding
what
to
you later try
purpose.
to clarify.
definite. Let me
Ugh.
see if I can break it down for you like this, right? I don't think anybody's looking at or espousing that you were negating the economic stance. I think what it is what was implied through what you came in was that less weight is being put on the economic side. And I think what Mr. Lee is saying is
No, he's saying
no,
what
put
more weight. He's saying more weight was being put on the economic side.
right,
Career,
right.
right? That's what he Yeah. And he was
And
saying that
so
they didn't understand what is your getting on your path. What's your real path,
exactly.
right?
So like I
But for you to
understand what
even
you're saying.
find out what your path is, you got to at least be on the road. If
Right.
you're not on the road on the journey, you're not going to find your path. You got to be on the road. I
Exactly.
started out in construction. I did 7 years in construction. I didn't like it, but then I went into finance. The company I was working with, I was a nuclear systems, piping systems designer for a nuclear installation. That's where I started, but it became monotonous and I didn't like it. And it was an industry that was dying. So the company offered me an opportunity to go to the University of Illinois to take a course. I just picked any course. I took a finance course in options trading and I loved it. So when I came back to New York, I went to was that St. John's University, finished up, and then I went to get my financial service license, and I went into financial services. So the thing is that you have to be on some path so you could find your way. So getting on your grind, getting in there, and pursuing something to become the best that you could be at that, and whatever you do, do it to your best. Because when you're succeeding, other people recognize you and they recommend you to other people. Doors are open for you by other people who recognize your work ethic, your ability to deal with people, your non-confrontational way of interacting, your skills. There are many things other people look at who are many times you don't even know that you're there. One thing about good managers and executive managers, they know the performance of their employees. Don't care how low you are in the totem pole, they know what you're doing because they get reports. They know who is producing and who is not producing. So, and I will say this, white people have been the benefit of my success, not black people. I mean, there was a point where, yes, at the end, I worked for an all black firm. So I was successful there. But it took many different career paths for me to get there. Right. So you can't go into the situation thinking because you're working for a white person that that person is going to hold you back. Be good at what you do, learn your craft well. And if you feel you're being held back, competition is always, bring out the best in people. You go find yourself another job, you get a better offer, you come and you tell your boss, hey, I'm going to be resigning this week, next Friday is going to be my last day. If they value you, you're going to be called into a meeting and they're going to talk to you, they're going to find out why, and they're going to pay you more money. That's how that works. If you're not good, they're going to let you go. And many times, even in the same industry, the way you get your money up is to move from one firm to the next. Because many times when you're in-house, they don't recognize your talent in-house until you go out. You got to go out, learn other
Very
skills,
true.
and then come back. And you 5 years later, you come back to the same firm and they pay you twice as much as they were paying you because now they recognize your talent.
If I can piggyback off of you, Mr. Lee, that's absolutely true. My mother-in-law was with Morgan Stanley for the past 30 years, and a lot of her colleagues left Morgan Stanley because they're well known for not paying well, especially African American females. And a lot of them left, went to E-Trade, got 100K plus salaries, and over the past few years, obviously got reabsorbed. But you're absolutely right in terms of moving around in financial services.
Mr. Lee, I would like to
Was
say
that
this
Michael
too.
H? One moment. Leave respectfully. Don't burn bridges leaving, and that's being professional. You never burn a bridge when you leave a company or business because you never know. Managers move too, and they might be at a company where you're trying to get in, and if you left bad, you left a bad taste in the manager's mouth when you left that company. You burn a bridge because everybody don't stay the same place, just like you're not staying the same place. So you have to learn to be professional.
Mr. Lee,
Doctor, oh, go ahead, OG.
Mr. Lee, I would second you that construction, and I would just be a stud welder and cement quality controller. You know, once that cement started being poured, boy, I tell you, that's the hardest damn job I ever had in my life. I think I was about 18 or 19. I gave it about a year, and I was like, shit, I can't do this. But anyway, I wanted to piggyback on something that I thought was very important, and I almost forgot before I left. O'Shea. O'Shea and I can never get his name correctly because I always get it close to
Jose
City
Jude
Hall.
Jackson.
Cydia. Cydia. I always go
Oh,
say it wrong.
Obsidian.
Anyway. Yeah, Cydia.
Obsidian.
So, yeah. They're one of the two brothers. Cydia has had a morning talk show. And I got on his panel first. From there, I piggyback into O'Shea. O'Shea was the first one to give me spotlight on his channel. And I have to say, listening to him, I understand the people who really, a lot of people came into O'Shea for the Rumble, but O'Shea was a lot deeper than the Rumble. And I have always told them that he was a genius. The way he did things, he know how to draw people in because we are people who like entertainment. But on within that entertainment, there was always be a message in what he was trying to do. And I seen O'Shea in the last 2 years start to make a more deeper connection with the second largest continent on this planet, and that's Africa. And I see how he was trying to pull people in, and I see how some of the other content makers wanted to stay where they were. See, you got 1.3 billion people on this planet in that continent, and O'Shea was trying to say, maybe the troubles you are having here, you won't have them there if you have the right people representing you. So I seen where he was going with this. I didn't look at him when he made. I wasn't really shocked because a lot of people had started dragging him in his own one of his own creations, and with Angry Man and Cydia and some of the other people who was the founders of this Manosphere. So I do understand why he made that decision. I'm pretty sure it wasn't an easy decision for him, but I've seen where O'Shea has always been a person who see further down the line than most people. Some people are in the now. He looks further down the line, and that's what I do respect him. Would I have made that decision? It probably been just as hard as for me as it was for him. I don't know what decision I was, but I would have to say I do believe this brother is a genius. He's gonna be great in whatever he does, and he just have that talent. So I don't feel like it's any decision he would have made would have been a wrong or a right decision.
Well, definitely, I'm not negating his talent, and that's not my intention, because people from Africa and from other places are still coming to YouTube and finding themselves in this Black Manosphere space also. So
Yes, sir.
location is not necessarily uh, a barrier for entry. And he's been there for many years. Since I've been watching this space, I've known him to be either in Poland or in Africa, in Uganda. But what I would say is that as a leader, and probably a pinnacle leader of the three, when a leader makes a major announcement like that, it sends reverberations. And one thing I know in terms of business, which is very much like military, when you take territory, you hold it, then you expand. You don't give it up. And the Black Manosphere has grown significantly over the years. I'm new to the space, so I can't speak as a contributor, but as an observer and using my own business acumen that I can recognize for this sector. I'm not speaking of any individual content creator at this point, but as a sector in YouTube, it is one of the fastest growing sector in YouTube. So as that sector, you want to hold control over that sector as best as you can, build it and grow it. And then if you want to go and build another sector, cool. Leave people in charge to hold it down and go build a new sector. No problem. But to vacate and to make a public announcement that you're vacating, that sends a message. And that was what that I took like as a leader, that was not the right message to send, because this sector
Okay.
will grow. It's not falling, it's
Yeah.
growing. And as it grow, reputation is, you don't want to be known 3 years from now that you was the guy that took part in
Yeah.
building it. You want to be the guy that, hey, I'm sitting at the top of the throne. I'm the pinnacle guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he's been instrumental in many other brothers who had came on and became successful. He's been instrumental in guiding them
Probably
and
90%,
open
90,
up
98,
opportunities to them.
95% of it. Probably 95% of it.
Absolutely. That's my point. So
Yeah.
when a leader make a statement like that, it shocks people. It make other people start thinking, maybe should I leave? You know what I mean? And then
Yes, sir.
you might have a small exodus of senior content creators who leave, and then the whole area blow up, and then they wind up coming back a year or two later, but now they don't hold the same significance as they once did in terms of respect. Not that they're not making the same money or more, as respect. Because one of the things we as black men have to learn is to respect our elders, respect men that came before us. And young black men tend to disrespect those who have come before us. And for him as a leader, stepping back or stepping away, to me, it sent a message that when new people come in and they build or the sector blow up, they're going to want to take credit for something that they weren't even there to lay the foundation for.
Yeah.
So, that is the part that I really see in there.
Yes, sir.
Now, I don't know.
I
It may
respect.
have
I
been a
respect that.
perfectly good reason why he did it, and I could be totally wrong.
Yeah, I think it got to be like a retired boxer. You Muhammad Ali should have probably retired 3 years before his last 3 years of his fighting, and he's probably saying, this brand where I started at and where we started this and where we was trying to go with it has got a lot of dust on it. The image is not the image I want around my crown anymore. I'm moving in and different directions, and I really don't need that sustaining to go stop me from what I'm trying to do, because now it's so. I mean, for the last 2 years, I did a show on this, Mr. Lee. Somebody interviewed me what they thought that I think the Manosphere would be over years. And I guarantee you, if people go back and look at that interview, it was done by DJ Cuda. All right. And we sat around and wanted some of the same things I was telling you when I first met you, that we need to have think tanks and come together and write things out, mission statements, everything we need to do to run a business the way it should be ran, versus just going all kinds of ways. Wherever we feel today, we go do a thumb test, find out where the wind is going. We need to have structure. We had this 2-hour interview with me and this young man, who is a very smart young man himself, DJ Cuda. He knows about all kinds of stuff when it comes down to musical stuff, boards, microphones and stuff. And it's one of the things that he had a problem with the Manosphere, trying to make them understand that you need to step up your game when it comes to microphone, visual, and everything. And so I think if he had to make that decision, I'm thinking that he had to look at it and say, what have I created and where is it going? It's not going in the same manner that I wanted it to go. And it's going to get so now I'm becoming part of the OG myself. So they're looking at me just like, you old now, man. Things don't change. It's time for you to move out the way. So I think he moved himself out of the way.
Well, I would say O'Shea is not old by any stretch of the imagination.
No, sir.
Okay,
but in this space, Mr. Mr. Lee, in this space, if you pass in this space, if you pass 32, you old. That's what I'm telling these young people. They be firing shots. You be ducking all the time. You be like, hey, wait a minute, goddamn. So
yeah, once you hit 35, you get the title of OG.
Yeah,
that's why I highlighted. That's why I chose today to highlight two men, Obsidian and Angry Man, because they come from the same stuff that O'Shea come from.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm starting to notice is that the way in which they are conducting their message as content creators and how they are now moving They're self-aware. They're moving in a whole different level.
Yeah.
And leaders set the tone. The corporal or the private don't set the tone to the battalion. It's the captain, the lieutenant, and the generals. They set the tone to how you move. So when leaders start to move differently, the troops start to move differently.
Yes, sir.
When leaders get into the muck and mire of the bickering and fighting and all the other stuff, then the troops think it's okay to behave that way too. So I think leadership comes from the top.
Yes, sir.
And what I wanted to cite today was that there were 2 videos I saw this past week, Friday and Saturday, dropped by these 2 men, that if it's a signal to what is to come, I think we could see a whole new move with how the Black Manosphere could potentially start to make moves just from these 2 men's leadership in
Well,
terms of their content.
Mr. Lee, I'm gonna promise you
Uh-huh.
for what you're trying to build. When I've been looking at you for the last month and a half, and what you're building, the plan you're putting together, I can see your leadership, sir. I can see that you're getting structured, so it's none of that rampage or this people going that you're building a structure. So I'm gonna
No,
promise to
I'm
you right now.
methodical.
Yeah, I'm gonna promise to you right now. If you ever need anything consistent in what you're trying to do, as far as how Black people can keep their health together, I'm on. That's what I've been doing for the last 40 years. That's why I look so good at 62. Still can play basketball,
Okay.
swim, and kick and fight. So I'm telling you, I'm making this promise to you, and my word has always been my bond. If you need
Okay.
anything from me
Appreciate it.
concerning that, if you need for me to do a little short, a little spot in your shows, or anything you need for me to do, just strictly talk about health for like 10 minutes, tell people some good productions or something like that. I don't sell none of this stuff. I just use it. Most of my herbals are raw form. I don't buy no products. So if you ever need that from me,
Well,
sir, I'm going to leave it open
I
for you to
appreciate that.
always reach out.
And if the need come up, I definitely will reach out to you. I will say something though. There was a young lady in the chat earlier. They had asked something about Black Alpha's group and what's going on. I will say this: I've been very disappointed because I've selected to work with a few people, and in the beginning things was moving in a positive direction. But for the past several weeks, I have seen people MIA. I've reached out to individuals, and I haven't gotten any response. And I'm the type of person where I'm not going to chase you.
Yes,
As
sir.
grown men, you take on a responsibility, you follow through. If you run into a roadblock, you send a message, you say, it's my situation, I'll be on it. So I'm going to look to make some restructuring. I'm going to find some new people to work with, and I'm going to move in a different direction because on my last show last week, I think it was, or the week before, there was a brother that said something to me that made a lot of sense. And especially with myself coming from a finance background, I was trying to go in the way to help individuals develop themselves more. But what I do find is that we as a people, we only respect money. And if you don't have money, your words are valueless. So I'm taking a step back and I'm going to make some moves to put some things in place. I didn't want to own Black Alpha's group, but the only way it's going to become what I want it to become is if I take full control. So I'm going to take the next 6 weeks or 2 months, and I'm going to make some moves and put some things in place. And then I'm going to roll out, and I'm going to roll out with a different team, and I'm going to make some other moves. And I'm going to put the money piece up front so there's no confusion. And I'm not going to ask nobody in the group or in the chat for no money. I'll raise my own money. And then I'll do it that way. And then at that point, when things start to roll, then I'll give you my phase 2 of what's going to come. Then I'll see how they really react. And I'll
Yes,
know
sir.
if Black Man really wanted to make change or they just want to talk shit. Because
Yes,
I'm not
sir.
really the shit talking kind of guy. I'm
Right.
really not.
And you know how this
And I
goes,
want to
right?
I want to say this
Everybody.
before I go. I want to say this before I go because I got to get ready for something else.
All right.
Yeah, hopefully my point was conveyed. Like OG said it perfectly. I was saying, like, obviously get your money together, get your life together before you can start doing other things. Like if your purpose is within your career, great. Like keep doing it, keep making money off the things that you really love to do. If not, make sure that you again get your monetary, situation together. Make sure you get a solid foundation and a cushion, and then you can parlay that into things that you really want to do. So hopefully that was cleared up, and if not, then this just going to be a cliffhanger. But like yeah, Mr. Lee, appreciate your work, appreciate what you're doing, and you guys have a good one.
All right.
Thank
Salute to
you.
you.
Appreciate
And
it.
may you and your family
Definitely.
have an amazing week.
Thank you.
Okay, OG. Thank you very much for coming up. You always have
Yeah.
wisdom to add to whatever
Yes, sir.
I'm
I ain't
talking
gonna.
about.
Yes, sir. I don't want to leave it. The young man want to leave me, so if I'm still welcome here, I stay here, and we just have the conversation. So, um, um, cause this is what I do. I'm retired now, Mr. Lee. So I've been retired for 5 years now. So this is what I do. I just, I go up and I try to communicate with these younger brothers. I try to let them know I'm not really trying to get in their leadership role or anything. If I have something I can lay on their buffet table and somebody choose to eat it, then it's fine. And so I raised my kids, four, let me say five of them. So I don't did my part. They're 46 and 22. So you know what I mean? It's like my children are coming back to me now and saying, Dad, what are you doing? You still look young. Like when I was covered up and I'm getting old, you know what I mean? So,
So
health has
no.
been very important. My mother had 18 children and it's only five of us left. And most of it's due to the fact they wouldn't change their diet. And
What I
so,
would suggest, if you don't mind, what I would suggest with regarding to your health program is maybe create some type of a matrix of medicines and how they can be used for what ailment. You could
yes, sir.
start out maybe putting it in an Excel spreadsheet, and then maybe you could create a website, and then you could create a product base that you can develop and you can leave for your kids
Yeah,
to
as you
use as a
speak,
business as you leave.
as
Because
you speak,
Dr. Sebi had a great products,
I studied
and
under
he
him,
was put
Mr.
to
Lee.
death because of some of the things
Yeah,
that he has done. And lately, I've been listening to some people out of the Netherlands and other places, and they're talking about certain types of medicines to cure cancer and different things. And when I listen to it, it sounds almost like exactly like what Dr. Sebi
doctor.
was talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I mean,
before anything happened, I would say, you know, put your stuff together, maybe put out some patterns, some registrations, get some patterns for few
right.
key medicines and leave something for your kids. I mean, if
Oh,
you have
and as you
young
speak,
men and young girls, young ladies, leave something for them so they have an inheritance that they can probably inherit, as you transition.
Mr. Lee, as you speak, I got 7 months and 26 days here before I leave the United States of America. As you speak, the web page and the um, I got 47 formulas. I studied under Dr. Sabi. I studied under Dr. Goff and Dr. Africa and Dick Gregory himself, who was a personal friend of mine. So,
Right?
yes, but I'm being very careful about this because you got to understand in the last 5 years, they killed over 200 and something, allegedly 200 and something natural healers. So, I'm being very particular how I'm doing this. I won't let none of that stuff loose until I do get to Africa. But yes, I'm leaving things for my children intact. So if anything happened to me, they won't, which is always going to be some kind of infighting, but it'll be put in a way that it pretty much sells itself out. And because I know what my mission is now. And I got to see people go before me who was much more talented than me when it came to a lot of this stuff. And what I did was take all the information I got for all four of the men I did mention, and I was able to come up with some of most outstanding natural formulas that I use in
Well,
my house today.
take it from here and put it down on paper.
Oh yeah, that's where
That's
what
where
it
it
is.
becomes.
So,
That's where it becomes
yeah,
valuable.
I got a coder right now doing my website and doing everything. She works right in my house. So yes, the business part of it, you got to understand that, Mr. Lee. I probably come up probably somewhat like you, and people have always underestimated me because of my vernacular. But when I first time I walked in the radio station and I said WGIV, making it your way, 95 degrees in the shade, and the weatherman says it's gonna be hot today. You know, and they heard that and they're like, you don't speak nothing like what you speaking when you're on the microphone. So this has been my journey of life. That wherever I go, the universe always accept me. It's only that people
Absolutely.
have to take time to understand me. So anyway, salute to you, brother. And just like I say, I'm gonna put my information in the back. And if you
Yeah,
ever
put
need
your email in the back chat.
me for anything, just call me. I'm up 24/7. I'm not just saying this on your show, but people who know me know I'm up 24/7. You can't call me and I say, "Oh man, what you doing calling me at this time?" No, I'm not one of them, brother. Brother, you can call me because I'm pretty much I get 3 hours of sleep now a day.
Yeah, I'm an
And I
early
know that's
bird
not
too. So
healthy. I know that's not healthy, but I only got 8 months, 7 months to do it. All right. So I'm gonna put all my
okay,
information. Salute to all the people in the chat room. Salute to you, my brother. May you and your family be doing as well as you can. And y'all all have an amazing week.
okay, thank you. Okay, everyone, thank you again for tuning into another Sage Talk show. The conversation, as I said, I'm looking at the Black Manosphere as a growing entity here on YouTube. And I think there are leaders who have been pinnacle in the development of this space. And I think there's a transition taking place at the top and at root levels. And I think in the next few months, we'll probably see how that translates. And if I'm wrong, I'll come back and do a show that I've effed up. But if I'm not, I think you guys will begin to see a lot of good things take place in this space. And I'm looking forward to it because there are a lot of talented people, far more talented than myself, that that have been growing and building in this space. And I think there's a lot more growth yet to be there's a lot more growth yet to be seen. I think we're just at the tip of the iceberg as to where the Black Manosphere space can be developed as an economic base, developed, pushed, operated, coordinated by Black men for Black men and Black women in this space. Hey, Hank, what's going on, brother?
What's going on, OG? How you doing, bro? You good?
I'm doing good.
See, I heard educate these young bloods, and then some of these OGs need a little education too. That's why I'm here. So I'm
Okay.
never gonna say I'm too above to learn.
Nah, you're a cool brother, man. I like your spirit.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So, just talking about the manosphere. I mean, it's beneficial, even at its, at its when it's at its negative points. It's still beneficial. You can still learn something from it. You may not always agree with everything is said or done or how it goes, but you can still learn something from it. So that's the benefit of it. So
Well, I think, I'm a student of history and I like ancient history. But when I used to teach, I used to have to teach American history because I taught in a bilingual school and they had to learn American history. And one of the things that I think that most people don't recognize is that in the infant stages of America in the 17th century, you could not have projected that America would become a world leader today by all the things that it went through. And I think the same could be measured and said for what we see happening in the Black manosphere amongst Black men. We're finding our footing and we're going through different situations and different changes. And brothers are, jockeying for position and space and whatnot. But with the right coordination and with the right brothers moving in the right direction, leaders lead. And if you demonstrate a certain type of leadership when you're at the top and when you have the respect, there are others who are looking at you. They may not say it because some people may not want to give you credit, but in the back of their mind, they see the positive way in which you're moving and they may emulate some of those things. And that's how we're going to get growth.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to highlight two men that I believe have been instrumental and continue to be so. And I think awareness, self-awareness. Kevin Samuel said that last year, that self-awareness is going to be big this year. And initially when he said that, I thought primarily that he was referring to women. But as I am looking at YouTube, what I'm noticing is that men are becoming more self-aware than the women are becoming self-aware. Content creators, that is. I mean, I don't get on panels and interact with a lot of guys, so I'm not going to speak from that position. But I'm talking about from those who are putting out media content. And what I'm starting to see is a shift in the content, the quality and the message.
Yeah.
And there's becoming a separation between the content creator and the man. They're leaving their personal self out of the content. They're not being dragged in to bullshit. They're becoming more mature, more professional, more decisive, more of a businessman, understanding their brand, building on their brand. I mean, I'm seeing a whole different way in which certain brothers are moving.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great thing.
Definitely that. And Mr. Lee, it's always good to give a brother that flowers while he's still around, while he's still above ground, while they have the wherewithal and the mindset. Because there's nothing wrong with giving the brothers praise and giving their gifts and their props, man. There's nothing wrong with it. And more brothers need to start doing that. I mean, we really do. Unfortunately, a lot of, cats, they mean mug you. They look at you crazy. They want, they don't want to give you your props. They want to just hate on you. Why we got to do that?
Well, I mean, you said something.
If we're going to sit there and hate and not showing love towards each other, we'll never get where we need to be at. We never will. But you today, what you doing is giving props to these content creators, man. Giving them props, their must do, and there's nothing wrong with it, nothing at all, because they deserve it. Definitely that.
Well, they've put in the work and they've
Yes,
put
sir.
in the time. And, how can I say, endurance. There's a lesson that can be learned from endurance. That's why there's some men that are sprinters and there's some men that are cross-country runners. The men who can show determination to stick to something, don't quit, keep plugging, keep moving forward. The lessons that you gain from not quitting, by plugging away, by being consistent. You can't teach that in a university. And I think what I'm beginning to see is that there's a certain level of expertise that is now starting to come across the airwaves, that they're weaving into their content, how they're managing their own personality away from the content, separating the man from the creator. Create the content, keep the man out of the picture. The man as an image is for the branding, but that's the image. And I'm starting to see that Kevin Samuels have done that expertly well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think other men are starting to see how they can now capitalize on being a pro. But that comes from longevity. Kevin, what he did was he just translated his corporate skills into this arena. But if a man never came from the corporate world to develop those skills, he had to learn it over time and he had to go through the trials. And now you're starting to see certain men rise like cream to the top and starting to demonstrate a whole different level of production and communication. And I like what I see. And I think it's good. And I recognize, I should say, I respect both of these men. I've watched them for years, uh, and I just think they're head and shoulders above many others because of their talented skills. It's unfortunate they may not have been recognized as of yet, but recognition can come like that. All it takes is one instance, and recognition can come like that. And sometimes you may need to be prepared for when it happened,
Yeah.
so you can capitalize on it the right way. Because we see a lot of people in entertainment and sports who reaches recognition, but then they're just like a star. They just blaze for a minute and then they lights go out. We lost a brother last week, right? Young brother just died. Another brother got with a white woman and he just died. So a lot of young men are just their lights are going out, man. And other brothers who are thriving and doing well, I think we definitely need to recognize men who are doing well. Who is Lee referring to? I'm referring to Angry Man and I'm referring to Obsidian. Those are the two men featured on the thumbnail for those who may not have come in at the beginning to have seen or heard my intro and the monologue. I'm talking about those two men particularly because, and like I said earlier, Angry Man dropped a piece of content yesterday that talked about immaturity has been the problem all along. And then Obsidian dropped some content on Friday that was talking about Gen Z women, 40, what was it, 41 to 51, or somewhere in that age group, dealing with high value men that they may have to share and what that new America might look like. But it was just the level in which the conversation came across. There was a whole different level. I've never really heard these men spoke that way in the way in which they spoke. They've always had a personality, had a passion, had a way with words. But I can recognize those things. But I saw another level in their talent and in their message. And I just thought that was like on a KS level, man. It was way over the top. It was perfect. I mean, I just thought it was perfect. So last night, as I was thinking about what I was going to do, I just dropped JR a message and I say, hey, create this for me. This is what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. And it's not just about giving men their flowers before before anything tragic happened. I just think as black men, we have to, and you said something, I think last week on the show when you came up, you said that you have been trying to implement, just being kind and saying hello to brothers as you pass them
Yes, sir.
throughout your day.
Yes, sir.
And I think we have lost the camaraderie of what said loud, I'm black and I'm proud, wearing an afro, putting up the fist. We have lost what those things really mean. We don't live it. We just use the symbology of it. And I'd really like to see us begin to live the things that we once were, as opposed to just using it as a symbol because it sounds good or it looks good for the moment. And we're not that at all. So I wanted to recognize two men that I thought was tremendous. Who knows? There might be other brothers that I may select at some future date, and I'll recognize them as well.
Well,
I'm
Mr.
not
Lee,
definitely
we got one.
not looking to call out. I'm not looking to call out anyone's negativity because there's a lot of people that do that. But I want to cheer a man on when he's doing well. I don't want to knock a man down when he's not. That's not my MO.
So Mr. Lee, we got one right here that's got this network going for us, man, and that's JR. He may not be as long in the tooth as some other guys, but doesn't mean the greatness is not there. That's what he's doing and what's in it. His vision and what he sees for this network and what he's doing and what he has. Hey man, I give the man all his props. You know what I'm saying? So, I have an idea and see the vision where he's going with it, man, and I see where it can go as long as he keeps doing what he needs to do and keep working and striving for the best, man, and perfection. this network's gonna go far, and so he's gonna be
Well,
right up there with those
absolutely.
guys. If not, he could surpass them. Who knows? JR has that hunger and the desire to do that. So JR, I'm giving you your props, giving you your flowers, my brother.
Well, I think all of these sectors are all part of the Black Manosphere. These are branches, like a tree. These are branches, and absolutely, JR is doing a fantastic job, and he manages a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'd like to see is some other content creator recognize the Lapeef Network. If I do it, it will seem sycophantish. So I don't want to be a sycophant in the eyes of others. So I'll just be praising the network I represent. And people is going to see it as self-serving, brown-nosing, or some other derivative of kissing up, right? And that's
Mr.
something
Lee,
I'm
I
not.
don't think that even matters, man. If that's what they
Yeah,
want to
but
call
what
it,
I would
that's
like I
what the
said,
paper ways.
I'd like to see, I would like to see other men recognize other men in this space and not be intimidated to do so. So I'm not sure if what I did could be a step in the right direction that may lead other men to do similar. But we need to learn to praise each other, lift each other up, and recognize, good breeds good.
Yes, sir.
Negativity breeds negativity. It's just the way things are. So, and if we, you know, as I walk through the streets where I'm at, one of the things that never seems to amaze me is how total strangers who I don't know always say hello when they pass me by. That could be a woman of age, or a woman that is a young girl, 25, 30 years old, or if it's a kid, a school person, or if it's an older man or someone on a bike. Whenever you pass each other, they always say hello. Now they say it in Spanish, but they say hello. And I find it, I am a guest in another country, and I would wish that in my country, in America, that we could be the same that we once used to be. Because when I grew up in Harlem, that's the way it was. Everybody knew each other, and everybody spoke to each other. And everybody knew who the senior citizens were. They could walk the street late at night coming home from church at 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night, and no one would bother them. An old person can't do that today. They get knocked over the head. So I mean, we have just drifted so far away from the things that really means a lot to us as people. And we have so focused on money that we have lost the value of life. And we don't see the life in each other that we respect it. That's why, so many black men could get killed in the state of Philadelphia, right? Or Chicago, or anywhere else in the United States where there's a large group of black people. You look at the stats and you see 500, 600, 750, all these black men being killed, and they're being killed by black men. And there's one reason for that, because black men don't like black men, plain and simple.
Mm.
For whatever reason, we don't like each other. How
That's
do we
sad.
change that? How do we change that?
That's sad, Mr. Lee. It's disturbing. Truth be told,
This
it
is what
really
I'm
is.
talking. This is what I'm talking about right here, Mr. Anderson. See what he said? F Chicago.
Damn.
Black
I
men don't like black men, bro. Straight up.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, it's rough, man. It's rough. We came from a time, in the '60s. I know when my peoples, they was talking about it, how much they love each other, how was they together, and they had a common bond. Unfortunately, we don't have that anymore. We should, but we just don't. So how can we
Okay.
create that common bond that we need?
Take a look at this. 1 second, Hank. Hank, take a look at this. Caucasian, this is Omega Dres Gain. Caucasians can't stand each other also. We're having a black conversation, and to justify black people killing black people, we're going to talk about white people killing white people, or can't stand each other. We're not talking about killing each other. We're just talking about they don't like each other. This is accountability, bro.
Yeah.
So women are not the only one that don't like accountability. Black men don't like accountability either, because that's a deflecting statement. That's not dealing with the reality of our community. That's a deflecting statement. They do it too.
Yeah.
What the hell that got to do with us?
Nothing. At the end of the day, my concern for people to look like us. That's my concern. I can't worry about everybody else. I got to worry about people that look like us. Man,
Well, that's a mission. That's a mission, man.
that should be our common goal. That should be one of our purposes. You know, we're gonna get back
Coming
there.
on one of
I know we are.
finding. I would, and maybe you can help me with this.
Mhm.
How do we find one thing that black people could come on one accord about? I wouldn't say black people, black men, because black women know how to come together on the things that benefit them.
Oh yeah, that sister code is
Black
strong.
men. And I'm sure if I had built a program that was either inclusive or for black women, I would have had far more participation. But I'm not going that route. I want to
That's
see
sad, Mr.
black
Leo.
men step up. Huh?
I said that's sad. Like you said, if you had built a program, women would step. And the bad thing about, like you said before last week, they stepping up more than the men was.
Absolutely. And it's disappointing because with all the criticism that black men give black women, you know, when it's time for black men to step up in some type of mass way, we only know how to do the individual. If one black man is succeeding, well, that's him. They can always point to one. But we can't do anything in mass. And if you want to be able to move, if you want to be able to wield power, you got to move in masses. You can't move individually. Because individuals can be always taken out. A scandal, many ways to take out one person. So, I'm a bit disappointed with how things have translated over the past few months, but you live and learn, and then you regroup, and then you make new, how can I say, you make new plans, and then you launch new plans.
And that's what real men do. They adjust and they adapt the situation. You just don't go sit on your hands and cry and go fold in a fetal position in a corner somewhere. No, that's not what real men do. You make the proper adjustments that you need to make to correct the mistakes or to any wrong or any issues you have to fix. You make the proper adjustments, and that's what men will do.
True that. Well, I'm not going to stay any longer. It's already been up 3 hours. Appreciate you stepping up, Hank. I can always appreciate your contribution, whether it's at the beginning or whether it's at the end. You're a very powerful brother. I welcome your support and your support to the Lapeef Network as well. Like I said, I don't know what the show is going to be about next week, but it's going to be a good one. Overtime. No overtime, Cool Cat. Last week we did 6 hours, man. I want to be able to make something to eat and chill. Maybe go to the beach, have a drink at my man's restaurant, chill out. Who knows? Maybe I'll meet me a nice 25-year-old chick. And I'll see you guys later.
Hey, that's all I'm saying. Do your thing, Mr. Lee.
All right. Hey, thank you all very much. Thank you for supporting Lapeef, guys. See you guys next week. JR, take us out.